who cares about my BattleTech campaign?
All right. I no longer have the Rona. We can definitely talk about D23 Expo 2022. And speaking of Rona, this con was actually delayed by a couple of years. The last time we went to D23 Expo was back in 2019. And 2019, we might go to the next D23, go to the parks panel. Maybe we'll get some updates about Disneyland down the street, but we'll go more into that parks panel later in the stream.
Yep.
Okay, if this is your first time tuning in, this is Convention Tea with Scarlet and Jay. We talk about conventions and we also talk about niche fandom conventions like D23 Expo. D23 Expo, it is the premier Disney fan event, and it only happens every couple of years. And there was a bit of delay for D23 Expo because of Zerona and world events. But before we get into that, let's check out one of our sponsors right here.
All right, the Magic Candle Company has been a sponsor for quite some time. They are awesome, some of the best gifts you can get. For those who don't know, Magic Candle Company makes not just candles, but also room sprays and other items, including, I believe, car air fresheners. That
I really like my Philharmonic pie. Really reminds me of what was it? Donald going through PhilharMagic.
Yep.
Donald Dream Drop Distance for you Kingdom Hearts fans.
And so you can have candles and car fresheners and room sprays and all sorts of things based on your favorite theme park attraction smells. So if you're someone who really loves Soarin', they got several smells from Soarin'. You are someone like me who has nostalgic feelings for E.T. because it was one of the last good times you had with your dad before he died, then you can grab Extraterrestrial Forest and try not to cry. Of course, you can always put in the code EAT15 for a discount on your order. Highly recommended. We use these candles all the time. Sometimes we get the food ones, sometimes we get the plant ones, sometimes we get the weird ones. Because I know eventually my room's just going to reek of pirate water.
I'm kind of curious about the pirate water scent, but anywho, let's just go on with D23. All right, so Scarlet Wrapsy, who are we? Scarlet Wrapsy, we are a collective of nerds who love attending fandom conventions. We got our start in my dorm room over at Sonoma State University in 2002, where I was like, I want to write about conventions. I really like all these conventions that I go to. Maybe I should just take LiveJournal, take blogging to the next step, and just create a website to just talk about conventions. And since then, it grew from there, and I'm just very happy that I got a team with me, well, mostly me and Jay, to just attend these events as press. Sometimes we just attend as fans, just to kind of just check things out. So D23
for the sake of clarity, yes. We were not press at D23.
It would be nice.
So I just want to point that out. Sometimes we're press and sometimes we're not. This time we weren't, but we did attend because we were curious about events at the park. And sometimes you can see some really cool stuff, some great photo ops and other things, which we will get into now.
It's a really well done convention. I mean, it's very well organized. They put a cap on attendees. I really like how it's organized, and even if these days I'm pretty jaded with current Disney this and that, there's a lot of things for all types of Disney fans.
Honestly, the history panels make it kind of worth it.
So this episode Convention Tea, we're not here to talk about the premieres and what's you. Maybe we'll talk more in depth about parks news, but let's just talk about a fan's view, a fan's bird eye view of D23. All right, like we said, D23 Expo is the premier Disney fan event. Happens every couple of years, mostly at the Anaheim Convention Center. The Anaheim Convention Center has definitely expanded throughout the years. They even have a brand new ancillary building. If you've gone to WonderCon, you're familiar with this brand new building. D23 Expo, I've been going since the first one. We took a break while we were living in Boston because we lived in Boston. Really didn't want to fly out for D23 because we've already been flying out for Anime Expo. So I didn't want to make the trip twice over to California. But the nice thing about D23 is they also live stream their major panels.
Yep. I've had to watch a few of those over in the East Coast.
Yeah, so D23, again, they put a cap on membership. Tickets do sell out pretty fast. I'm usually right on it because we're also D23 members. We have gold membership. We just renewed our membership recently, and you get this really neat price package every year when you renew your membership. It's different themes every year. Last time around, it was a Walt Disney World 50th anniversary theme. You got like a Disney World pennant, which we have in my office. We have like Disney World pins, and we also have like a Disney World vinyl record of music from like day one that was part of like the day one opening attractions. And we also have your Walt Disney World lunch pail.
Yep.
Which contains gunpla parts, or will contain gunpla parts.
No, it contains, I believe that has my Gundam wing units are currently stored in there because I needed to store them somewhere because I don't have room to display them.
So yeah, there's a lot of benefits to being a part of D23. Like, we joined D23 just a little bit before the pandemic, and we wanted to check out like a lot of these events that D23 was doing because I wanted to check out the Lilo and Stitch anniversary screening. Not that I'm a huge Lilo and Stitch fan, but I do think it's very underrated. It's a very underrated Disney movie. If you haven't seen Lilo and Stitch, give it a chance. Give it a watch. It's
or if you haven't watched
really
it in a
good.
long time, give it a watch.
And they had like this Lilo and Stitch like luau party, and they had a screening like outdoors, and like, you know, they always give out free swag at this event. And Jay's younger brother is a huge fan of Lilo and Stitch, and I'm like, if I can get some swag for him to go with his brother's Lilo Stitch onesie.
Stitch onesie.
Make sure he doesn't hear this. With his Stitch onesie,
check
like
my text messages after this is done. What? This is his response.
Yeah, so it'd been nice to like just grab some gifts for him too. Like, so they have like a lot of these fan screenings. I know like a couple of years ago before we were members, they had like a Temple of Doom screening over in Burbank, and people who went got like a Q&A with like the creative team, and they also got like exclusive Temple of Doom pins. They had in Club Obi-Wan pin. Like, oh, I wanted that pin. I don't care what anyone says. I love Wooly. I love Wooly from Temple of Doom. She is hilarious. I love her.
And as I always say when I defend characters like that, she has the most realistic responses to everything that's going on around her. Most people would freak the hell out if they got into any of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm a Wooly apologist. I'm a Temple of Doom apologist. Love that movie.
A lot of people love Temple of Doom. There's people I know who it's their favorite of the trilogy.
My favorite trilogy is still Last Crusade, but that's just me. But I love Temple of Doom.
I may have to say Last Crusade as well.
Last Crusade, that was the first one I saw. That was also my first Sean Connery movie, knowing how much of a 007 nerd I am, too. All right, D23. Usually, this is the section where we talk about what was the most popular cosplay, what was the most popular fandom. It's kind of impossible to say when you're at a DisneyCon.
I'm going to say the most popular fandom was Disney t-shirts.
Yes, Disney shirts, very like casual, like Disney bounding. But of course, you had some cosplayers that like were from like, oh wow, I can't believe I found this cosplay. Like we got Merlin and Mad Madam Mim here. Yeah, I just love Sword and Stone. I actually did cosplay as Arthur on the last day of D23. That was a lot of fun. It's like Sword and Stone needs more love. It's like in my top 3 favorite Disney animated movies. Da, 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 da. And as a joke, you thought about going as like a last minute Merlin.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Yeah, and then we also have Ariel's mother from no wait, not Ariel's mother. Ariel as a mother. I believe it's Ariel as a mother in Little Mermaid Return to the Sea over there by Esther Villain. And also in the center we have like a very beautifully done fairy godmother and Cinderella from the live action movie.
I think my favorite were the ones that clearly someone put a lot of creativity into. For example, we had, was it Zelensky?
Yeah, we'll get into Zelensky later because he deserves his own section.
Oh, does he have his own section?
He does have his own section.
And the other one I really liked, which I don't know if you have the photo of her, was someone did Peppa. Is it Peppa?
Yes, Peppa with the rain cloud dealing. We don't have it here, but we have it on our Facebook gallery.
She did this really cool thing. So she had the cloud above her head, the little raindrops coming onto her head, and the fact that it could stay up was I think a miracle of like balance and luck. But it was really cool and creative, and you don't see that kind of creative stuff at, you know, say a WonderCon or something like that, because one, that thing would probably get knocked off so fast it wouldn't be funny. But I like seeing that extra step of creativity. Like I think I don't know if it was at this D23 or at a different D23. I saw someone doing Bermuda Merlin.
No, there was a Bermuda Merlin here, and you and I were like, Master Roshi's that? No, that's Bermuda. Merlin, who looks a lot like Master Roshi.
Somebody even asked him, and we both started giggling. because we had thought that. We're like, oh, no, it's Bermuda Merlin.
All right, so in terms of fandom, like you get like a lot of obscure like Disney this and that at D23.
Next year, I'm cosplaying from Black Cauldron.
Oh, I actually did see a Black Cauldron group, and she was part of this like obscure Disney characters like get together, which is actually photoed here. One of the people who were part of that meetup was Cat General Gal from Treasure Planet, one of my favorite characters.
Oh, nice.
My brain is blanking out on the name.
It's been just forever since.
Yeah, but Treasure Planet's like terribly underrated. I really enjoyed Treasure Planet for what it was and what it was trying to do, so that's just me.
It's all fun and games until we show up as Yzma and Kronk.
We should. Why haven't we thought about this? To the drawing board. And then you have my buddy here, Nephi, as gender bent Esmeralda here. And then you also have a character from Twisted Wonderland. I believe that is Ruggy. He is the hyena cub of the Lion King House Lion King.
They have a proper name.
They have a proper name, but sometimes we just call them House, insert Disney.
Villain they're modeled after.
Yes.
I think we saw a couple different Twisted Wonderland people, which I like the fact that that's getting some popularity.
I was supposed to come in Twisted Wonderland, but my thing didn't come in time. I was supposed to represent House Ursula.
As Papa Homer.
As Zool, who looks like this mafia dude, which I love because he has a pimp cane. Could have gone around D23 like running around with a pimp cane.
I ran around with a cane.
We have a story about that, but that's later in the slides. All right, day one. Really huge exhibit hall. Like D23, it's like one huge exhibit hall, several panels, food trucks, official Disney cosplay meetups, which are mandated, like not mandated, but hosted by Disney. These aren't really like fan cosplay gatherings.
You can't go online and say, oh, I want to do a Little Mermaid gathering, all Little Mermaid people or whatever. Nope.
So like literally on Sunday it's like parks and princesses. I feel like those should be like two separate things because like the parks themselves, myself included, have like a huge fandom, have a huge following on its own.
We've seen plenty of cast member and plaid themed cosplays.
All right, so let's just kind of go over because you and I
no, I do a cast member themed cosplay.
Yeah, you did a cast member themed costume. And so we have here is the Wonderful World of Dreams, which is one of the pavilions in a dealer's hall, which focused in on the Disney parks worldwide and what's to come. And you're like going in through this tunnel, which reminds me of the Imagination Pavilion Rainbow Tunnel. Even though I have no nostalgia or no memory of it, but I hear people always talking about the rainbow tunnels in the Imagination Pavilion. But that's what it reminded me of, and I just
probably what's modeled after.
Yeah, it definitely had that vibe, but I do appreciate that these pavilions have Walt's words keep moving forward.
And the other thing I'm going to say that's just key about this for anyone who's thinking that this is like a regular convention, this is very much modeled like a World Expo kind of thing. So there's a lot of these big pavilions that are dedicated to specific brands or specific segments, you know, such as the Vacation Club or Marvel, or in this case, this is kind of the upcoming park stuff. And yes, there are booths to buy books and shirts and whatever, and we'll get to those as well. It's a mix of both, but don't think of this like a standard dealer hall. You got to think about this more like
the LA Auto Show, kind of.
Yeah, something like that.
The LA Auto Show, but it's Disney. But there were cars there that we could pose with, like the Toyota, the Pizza Planet truck.
The Pizza Planet truck was there, yes.
From Yo.
I actually liked however many years back it was where they had a Pixar Cars of Buzz and Woody. That I thought was clever. I really liked that one. Plus Woody was a Woody, which was brilliant.
All right, so we also have the excuse me, was it Hong Kong or Shanghai that is getting a Zootopia world?
I'll be honest here, I don't actually remember, but the Zootopia display was really cool looking. And they even had these little doors or windows that open up and the characters would pop out and talk to each other, which is going to be part of the interactions in the land of just having the animals, the humanoid animals pop up and say things and do things, which I like that. It's clever.
Oh, it's Shanghai Disneyland.
Shanghai.
My bad.
Yes.
Yeah, Shanghai Disneyland are getting like a Zootopia section. I really like the whole like pop up like puppets where everyone's interacting with each other, making the land very kinetic, making it feel real, and I really like that.
This had been previously announced, but actually seeing stuff makes me go, man, I don't want to jump on an airplane all the way across the Pacific Ocean, but I kind of want to jump on an airplane.
We'll figure this out eventually.
I'm not even a big Zootopia fan. I just like how it's themed and how it's set up. And I love the idea of setting up a land where you actually have the characters from the land interacting. I mean, like, cars, yeah, they'll drive down the street occasionally. You can get a picture with Fire Guy or Bottle Rockets or Larry the Cable Guy. But it's kind of, weird when, I would love to, they need to do this for San Francisco. Oh, God, we'll get to that. Okay, never mind, I'll save that. But they need to do it for an upcoming refurbishment in California Adventure. That's all I'm going to say.
All right. Other things about the Parks Pavilion. Also at Disneyland, we're also getting Toontown, a brand new Toontown, which I'm really hyped for.
The map looked really good. It looks like they're using more space too, which is
it's the same amount of space, but they're making more of the space. So they're adding like more to Goofy's bounce house. They're kind of getting rid of like just some of the this and that was just kind of like in the area to make it more like a kids play zone.
Yeah, it's gotta get some sort of pun name for it now. It's Goofy's.
I know it's like based off the Goofy's
How to Play.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is.
Yeah, just kind of based off like the Goofy's How to shorts like back in the day. I like those.
It looks like Donald's boat is also going to get some modifications and be.
It has like little fountain dealies in there because before, like back in the day, you could go into Donald's boat. You can go on the boat and you can like just go on the Happy Fun slide back down to the boat. But now it's no longer there. I know they're getting rid of the Chip 'n Dale Treehouse, Jared.
I'm fine with that. Chop it down.
So yeah, the model looked really good. We're really hyped for the Runaway Railway, and the interiors of the queue look so much different, and it's very Toontown-esque. Yeah. Versus like in Hollywood Studios, the queue for Runaway Railway, it's the interiors of the Grauman Chinese Theater, which does look opulent. It does have its place, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what the queue looks like for our Runaway Railway when it comes out here, because it's very on brand with Toontown.
I like the idea of expanding Toontown and having the like silly cartoon puns in there. I know the theater name has some sort of pun too. I can't remember at the top it is. Top of my head, but
I know Toontown tends to get a lot of hate, but I've always liked Toontown.
Well, my feeling on Toontown has always been that there's no real reason for me to go there. While I do lament never having gone on Gadget's Go Coaster, it doesn't look like I'm missing anything.
Yeah, it's just a very simple like kiddie coaster.
So I'm kind of in the position of like a refurbishment. It sounds good to me. There's going to be more eating places. There's going to be more things to look at and do, and it's going to be rearranged a little bit. And yeah. I'm not saying I'm excited for this because I still feel it's going to be one of those I walk around it once and go, okay, we're going to do some Meet the Magic episodes, and then I'm waiting for Runaway Railway.
But Jay, we could go to Runaway Railway.
Yeah, as soon as that's open, though, that's going to become one of my things, because the Florida one is freaking amazing, and if they can make this the same experience but with a different queue, I'm down 100%.
And honestly, if you're a fan of Walt, you're going to love this, because this is truly a love letter to Walt Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they also had the model of the Splash Mountain redo for Princess and the Frog, and they're also going to be opening up a brand new like pop-up boutique in New Orleans Square that's now open as we speak. I'm curious to check out how that goes. I thought they were going to do like a Tiana Gumbo kind of like pop-up kind of like walk-up booth, kind of similar to the Mint Julep Bar, but we'll go more into Tiana's Splash Mountain, Tiana's Bizarre Adventures, like just later on the slides when we go into the parks panel. But it was just kind of cool just seeing all this come together, because I originally thought like, this is just like, okay, you say this now, it sounds all blue sky, but it's just nice to see like, okay, there actually is progress on this.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one of our this just became like a meme for like a lot of DisNerds. Here's the statue of Walt that's going to be at Epcot.
Oh, it's terrible.
And it's Walt looking like he's about to take a dump.
Yep, it looks like instead of sitting on the side thing there, it should just be a toilet.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at it, because I think like my first thoughts on it was like, Walt's is just kind of like just sitting there just thinking like, dang, this is my experimental prototype community of tomorrow. People are drinking around the world. At least there's a monorail here.
There is. It's the one thing they got right.
So, like, I just kind of had, I thought, like, yeah, it's like Thanos, kind of like, but at what cost?
Just the next statue next to it's just being raising his fist in the air and going, Roy!
But yeah, here's our lovely Waltz on the toilet statue.
Yeah. Come on, guys. we can do better. In fact, there's another statue. They did do better.
And also, we've got the Magic Bands that are coming to Disneyland. And also, these are the next upgrade to Magic Bands for the Florida theme parks. These are Magic Band plus Magic Band part. Yeah, Magic Band plus.
Does that mean our old ones don't work anymore?
I believe they still work. This is just like the next
the Anniversary
upgrade.
Cinderella one, so I don't want to have to throw that away.
I have the Portaline Princess and the Frog one.
Yeah. So we have some of the unique ones. We don't have to just. I mean, I guess we wouldn't throw them away. We just give them as a collectible thing. But then they just be in a box somewhere on it or display somewhere.
We'll find a way to display them once we get a place.
I'm curious if this will actually be universal betwixt the two parks, or if it's going to literally. I mean, I don't care if I have to get a fresh band for land. I would have to see what the offerings are, but.
Because we did see like the preview of like what the Disneyland version looks like.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind like owning like a Magic Band for a Disneyland, because if it makes things easier rather than going to my app just to, like scan in for rides, scan in for like parking, because it's a hassle anytime I have to get my phone, hand it over to the cast member, like here, scan me.
The screen doesn't go dark.
And like. And you're just kind of worried because people like behind you is like, oh my god, I hope this
feel like a jerk.
Yeah, you don't want to feel like you're being that guy. I mean, I'm always patient anytime I'm in that line for parking, because we've had experiences before where we have like impatient people like in front of us, or like.
Well, removing the pass as an actual pass was a dumb idea.
Agreed, and even cast members agree that like removing something physical was kind of dumb. And even cast members were trying to like just help guests like circumvent, like, okay, for PhotoPass, take a screenshot of your PhotoPass QR code so guys can scan it in. And whereas I prefer to just have something physical, so I always ask for like a physical PhotoPass card, so that can easily be scanned in, and at the end of the day I can scan that into my account. So I'm actually looking forward to our park having the Magic Bands, because about dang time.
Yep. And like I said, maybe we can get one of the unique ones. That could be fun.
Oh yeah, exclusives, because like we gotta have our exclusives. I wonder if they're gonna make like special noises when you like scan in, because I know for like certain Florida ones for World, like if you do like scan yourself in with like an exclusive one, it does play like a unique noise to it.
Yeah, I heard someone for one of the Star Wars ones, one of our trips, that made like it was part of the song or something. I was like, oh, or was it lightsaber sound?
That sound.
Lightsaber sound. And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's not for me, but that's cool.
One of the cool things about like going into these pavilions is like the interactivity. So there was like this interactivity like every every like half hour where you get to design like a fireworks show.
That was fun to watch.
And they were like, okay, let's design Illuminations. Illuminations is that fireworks spectacular at Epcot. You can actually watch Illuminations in HD if you have a Disney Plus account. And I know you and we aren't really like nighttime spectacular people, because like, oh my god, this is prime time to go on the e-ticket rides.
Or get to your car before everyone else.
Or enjoy ice cream.
That has become a standard thing for me, yes.
And Illuminations, what is so beautiful about it is they use Disney music from like around the world, and the music choices, so you're hearing reflections in Mandarin, you're hearing Go the Distance in Greek, you're hearing all these different songs that take place in different countries in the language of where the characters are from,
which is very appropriate for Epcot.
And I'm just sitting there like, oh my god, I'm just having like a lot of feels right now. You and I were watching the show from Germany, but waiting for our friend like coming in from Japan. It's like, oh wow, I'm glad we sat down and watched this, because this is actually freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's the weird seeing like the Stargate thing like in the lagoon, because like you and I were making the joke like, yeah, there's a Stargate in the middle of Epcot.
Yeah, it's still a silly.
I know Future World, yes, Stargates, yes, but I don't think Richard Dean Anderson has anything to do with this.
Yeah, also that, and does Disney actually officially own MGM or?
No, that's Amazon.
Yeah, so technically Amazon should own this Stargate.
And guess what? We're also in a video for Marvel. So Marvel
right.
Studios actually approached us day one. You and I were just kind of walking along, minding our business, and suddenly Marvel just kind of eyes us. And Marvel all like, hey, you're costuming for Marvel. Want to be in a video? I can't say no to that. So you and I were costuming.
Maybe something way more skeevy. It was like one of the staff members at the Marvel booth was like, "Hey, I love your costumes. You're such and such, and you're such and such." Or should I just say what we were? You're Agent Carter, and oh my gosh, Matt Murdock. And I'm like, mm-hmm. And then you're like, and he's actually visually impaired. And I'm like, yes, I am.
It's so nice, like seeing a lot of Matt Murdock cosplayers at D23. Like even as simple as just wearing like the gray lawyer suit. I thought it was like, yay, there's Daredevil fans here. That just makes me happy.
It's much easier than wearing a tight bodysuit of devil horns.
And we actually did see like a season 1 Daredevil where he looks like the guy from I call it his Wesley cosplay.
What?
From
yes. The black outfit he initially wears with the boxing hand wraps. I love that outfit. I thought he was gonna have that the whole season for season 1, and then when he got his actual outfit, I was actually disappointed at first. I was like, oh. And then I saw how good the costume looked. I was like, oh, never mind. But I loved the idea of doing that like gritty, realistic. And he's just like, yeah, I'm just basically gonna wear black training clothes, some boxing wraps because of my dad, and then just wreck dudes. Loved it. Oh God, I love that show.
Yes, there were. If you check out the link in the bio, you can check out us and the Marvel Studios cosplay highlights of D23. I'm literally like within the first frame as Agent Carter, and Jay is here adjusting his tie as Matt Murdock.
Yeah, that was the one I liked the most. I was trying to do different poses and feeling really awkward, and at a certain point I was like, oh, I need to fix my. And like, oh, no, keep doing that. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I just like adjusted my tie and stuff. I was like, perfect. And I'm like, all right, that works. I didn't bring the brick or anything, so I just had my cane.
All right. Also on day one,
because yes, I have a brick, people.
It was actually a gift from Comic-Con. Check out our Comic-Con convention tee to learn that story of how we obtained that brick.
Yes.
So, also on day one, we also decided to just check out some of the booths because there was also a booth that had the Tron Cycle from the Light Cycle Run upcoming ride at Disney World, which I'm very hyped about.
Oh, yeah. And getting on that thing just made me even more like, oh, soon.
Daft Punk the ride. I'm so looking forward to Light Cycle Run over at Disney World. It's like, okay, now that we know it's coming in spring of next year, I can like make plans on when to go. But let's get some financial things first before we plan any major vacation trips.
Yeah.
Especially those of you who are probably watching this and thinking like, I need to message him now and we need to plan a trip. I'm like, no, we gotta take care of our financials first. So it was kind of cool, like just like doing photo ops with like the Light Cycle here, and like we just ended up just taking photos with it too. I am so hyped. So what was it like? Because this ride vehicle, it's very different from like most ride vehicles from like your traditional roller coaster type ride in the dark.
I'll go and say 2 different rides, and I don't know how many people have gone on them, but if you've gone on Flight of the Avatar, or you've gone on Pony Express over at Knott's, then you kind of have the idea of the thing. So you're leaning down on it. There's a little thing that comes down to your back that helps keep you from having the pressure push you up, and your legs are like in these like slots, and it really feels like you're actually on like a motorcycle or some sort of high speed futuristic vehicle thing. Even the hand grips like actually push forward, so you're actually kind of in that position. If you ever see how they actually are with their light cycles, or they're really leaned forward on them, it sets you up so you are leaning in that direction. You are in the exact same pose as the characters in the movies and TV show, if you watch the TV show.
Yes, so hyped. Also, one of our favorite photo op zones was a Ventricon. So New Jersey at Ventricon, it's a con that appears in the first episode of Miss Marvel. I love Miss Marvel. I think it's the best Disney Plus Marvel show. Check it out if you haven't yet. It's a lot of fun. You don't need to watch the previous Marvel Disney Plus shows. It stands on its own, and it's a very well done series. So, in Miss Marvel, The premise of episode 1 is like, oh my god, we're teenagers. We want to go to a con, but hi, my mom is kind of strict and she won't let me. Let's figure out how to get to this con, and cosplay to it too, because my mom kind of has an issue with me cosplaying. Yeah, so yeah, totally like, oh my god, like, is this me going to ASIN? Yes, it's totally me going to ASIN. And my mom also, like, oh yeah, you're gonna cosplay? Isn't that like porn? Like, no, mother, it's not.
My mom has the same problem with cosplay.
Any hoot. There was like this photo op where you could like pose like from like just some of like the as if you were at a Ventricon.
Yeah, like these are some of the props. I looked, one of the ones was just cars or stuff Hulk has smashed.
Yeah,
it's just like a wrecked car and some other stuff. Oh, it's great.
And you can just pose with this too.
There's also in the queue for it, there's a whole wall that has all sorts of different, I think it's like, I don't know if it's the map for it or whatever, but it has all these different
It's a concept artwork for a Ventricon, so it just kind of had all these different things here. And then I thought about making a joke episode of Convention Tea. It's like, okay, let's just talk about the logistics of a Ventricon, because who's running this? Who's making money off of the images of all these heroes? Because don't tell me that this is a Stark Industries ran event.
They have Stark Expo. They're not gonna go down to this. Pepper isn't going to let that happen.
And and we got this freebie from doing the photo op. We got the badge for New Jersey Ventricon,
which is pretty cool. I do like that. I might even incorporate that into other conventions I go to just for funsies. Or more likely, I'll probably use that as a bounding accessory.
I even did a selfie
parks.
with the New Jersey Ventricon badge, and I just posted on my socials. All my New York friends start messaging me, asking me like, "Hey Scarlet, do you want to train? Do you want like meet under the bridge? You want to fight?" I'm like, "No, I'm not in New York. I'm not in New York. I'm nowhere near New York right now. Yes, I want to fight. Yes, I want to spar. That'd be awesome, and we can do karaoke afterwards." But no, I wish I could, you know. I want to like throw some punches under the bridge and have boba afterwards, you know.
I'll just go for the boba.
All right. So, but yeah, it was a really fun photo op, and
I just liked how the booth was set up, and I thought it was kind of silly and fun, and yeah, it's kind of a nice little, again, booth like that where I haven't seen the show, I don't know the episode, I don't know the reference, but the idea of just a kind of silly Avengers Con. They even have like a wall of like, you know, we miss you for like the fallen Avengers and stuff like that was part of the queue, and things like that I'm like, oh man, I just like, you could tell the people who made this really cared, and I appreciate that as someone who, you know, really enjoyed the first few years of Marvel. All
right. Now, before we go on to day 2, it's a word from our sponsors. The Convention Tea is brought to you by Umac. Use the code UMAC-Dame Asbal to get 40% off UMACsweater.com. Umac is a great source for cardigans, cozy attire. I know I got a lot of my older relatives just some cardigans for the holidays. So this is also a great place for holiday shopping for if you know folks who love cardigans, who love just cozy like scarves, attire, etc. Great place to just get sweaters, get pullovers. A lot of great selection, a lot of different colors. It's one of my places, my go-to for basics. In fact, I'm even getting like I actually want to customize a couple of these cardigans for cosplay, this and that. It's relatively affordable, especially if you use my code for 40% off. I'm actually thinking about making a Nozomi cosplay by using one of their cardigans and just adding a little bit more to it. So, amazing company. Love working with them. And if you want to just get grab a few things, don't forget to use my code UMAC-Dame Asbal. All right, day 2. Yeah, things are about to get plain crazy.
Ugh, puns.
You were cosplaying from Jungle Cruise. Can you do better?
Probably, but I'm tired.
All right. Let's talk about Walts Plane, Jay.
Just like that zebra who's dead, tired. But thankfully the lions are watching over him.
Yeah, we're just lying around.
So, this is legitimately the plane that Walt Disney used to fly around the country, especially during the Florida project times. And it was just there, in the building. like they fit a plane inside the convention center. For those of you who are still don't understand how much construction and development has occurred in this convention center, they fit a plane inside the convention center.
And before it was in the convention center, it was just hanging out over in the Toy Story lots.
Yeah, but see, that makes sense. It's a big, huge parking lot. Of course, you can fit an airplane, but this is inside a convention center. And yes, there's a photo op area for it. And they showed off a bunch of the little things that they had on the plane and the chairs and the some of the designs.
Now let's talk about the panel. We attended the panel that actually had a detailed history about the plane and also like the siblings. I mean, it's not siblings. The
subsequent ones.
Yeah.
There's multiple
the
planes.
Sons,
he kept upgrading with the times.
Yeah. We had some interviews with the children, like to some of the people who worked on the plane and some of the pilots of that plane.
And they even showed some of the notes and stuff taken by one of the pilots.
We had their flight logs.
Yeah, all the flight logs and incredibly detailed, even little notes about other people who walked on and what have you. It's really cool.
And I just really like the design of the interior. We don't have photos of it here on our slideshow, but like Walt wanted to take a piece of home with him on the plane, so he had like these glass dividers to divide his workspace from like the passenger space, and it had like leaves like from his yard, and like I thought that was a really neat touch.
Yeah, the idea was his wife's idea, and they set it up, and it's just one of those things that sets apart in terms of how the kind of the Disney family approached things back in the day.
Yeah, it was a very interesting panel. I really like a lot of the archives themed panels because it just talked details more about like Disney history, the Walt era, which I find much more fascinating than like upcoming news about Disney this and that. I just like hearing about like we're huge fans of the man Walt Disney.
Yes.
Because like if you go through his story, if you're ever at Hollywood Studios and watch and go through One Man's Dream.
Oh, I totally recommend that.
That is a must do at Hollywood Studios.
Mm-hmm.
If you call yourself a creative person, you need to go see One Man's Dream. It will remind you to keep going forward, to keep moving forward.
Yep.
And the archives panels here just kind of like just really preserve Walt's legacy, and also you get to see different sides of him. So it was just really cool just hearing about his travels, like just kind of just traveling around the country with this plane. And this plane is now on display over in Palm Springs at their Air Museum, and I'm not against checking it out again. All right, so you cosplay for the Jungle Cruise on day 2, and this is you with a couple cosplayers who cosplayed as the Jungle Cruise boats.
Yeah, which I thought was really cool. The fact that people come up with things like that is always amazing to me, because it's like I never would have thought of trying to turn the boats into a costume. And yet here people are.
And also on day 2, we decided to check out some of the food trucks. We didn't bring in our usual lunches that we usually get from Trader Joe's or Target. It's like, let's check out some of the food trucks. And there was a place that had Greek food, and oh my god, it was just like the best meat I have ever had.
There's something about the way that we do smoked meat that's just delicious.
So there was a variety of food trucks, but I also wanted to see like, okay, I know like some of the more popular like American food, like burgers, fries, pizza. Those are gonna get long lines because those are familiar, and of course because Disney 3 is a family convention, you have a lot of kiddos running around too. They're gonna gravitate towards like the usual pedestrian type of food, whereas like let's just try something. I don't want to use the phrase strange and unusual, but I want to use more like, okay, let's try something a little bit different that's not what everyone's gravitating to, but we know it's going to be tasty.
I like how that's your version of the story. Mine was, oh my god, what's that smell? You're like, there's a Greek truck. That. That was, I believe, my decision-making process was just smell tasty, smell meat, want. And it was really good. It's a really good, the meat, the pita, everything. Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and then we decided to just kind of like just hang out like in front of the fountains, and there was also a meetup of all these Disney cast members, and you can also see our buddy Adam. He's in the way back row, and he is holding his Keyblade. And like, yay! I appreciate the Kingdom Hearts representation like within the Disney cast members. Anytime I see my buddy Adam, with his Keyblade. Anytime we're at a convention, I always joke around with him like, yeah, he's got the real Magic Key here. For those of you who don't know, Magic Key is a rebranding of the annual pass.
Which is also dumb.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, if it's a Magic Key, I better be getting a dang Keyblade.
That would have been nice. But then think about how awkward that would be to, like, try to pull your Keyblade out, and then, the guard at security just thinks you're threatening them, but you're just trying to get into the park. It could be awkward.
I mean, I was lucky to bring my Excalibur in on day 3 because the excuse from the security was like, well, you guys, everyone like just carrying around those like giant keys. Like, I'm sure we can let like a wooden sword in.
Oh yeah, there were Kingdom Hearts people. Of course there were.
I mean, my Aqua Keyblade, that's made out of foam. I picked that up on Amazon, and my Excalibur sword, it's a $20 Excalibur sword I got off of eBay or something, like one of those Chinese eBay sites, and it's relatively lightweight. Like,
oh yeah, it's basically balsa. It's only strengthened by the paint on the wood. I mean, if you hit anything of that, it would probably snap in half.
I mean, I do want to get a higher caliber Excalibur one of these days, but I'm like, okay, this will do for now. And I know they also sell like foam versions of Excalibur at conventions, but this one, I like the look and the sheen of it, how it looks like in photos, versus like if I'm carrying around the foam Excalibur, it looks very obvious to a cosplay prop.
Yes.
And here you have you and me over at the Twisted Wonderland booth. This was a day I was supposed to cosplay for Twisted Wonderland, but I decided to go as Mulan from Wreck-It Ralph. Like, you know what, I'm just going to call it casual today because I felt like, as much as I like seeing like a lot of people represent like Disney fandom through cosplay, and you have like all these elaborate and all these obscure like blink you'll miss it type of representation there, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna go as casual Mulan, so it's just easier to just shop around and stuff. And I just do appreciate that there was a Twisted Wonderland booth there, because like, yay. I mean, I log in every now and then to Twisted Wonderland. I do appreciate it, but it's just the level grinding aspect of it, just to get advanced into the story. It's like, okay, it's just kind of repeat. And
that's what level grinding is.
No, it's just it's not even like based on skill.
Oh, well then that's more annoying.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, it's different when I'm on like on Final Fantasy 14. I'm going through this job quest. A lot of my level up really depends on like difficulty, timing, etc. Like how well I did in the thing. Whereas on Twisted Wonderland, it's like click, 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 and there's like no effort. There's no true skill to it.
Yeah.
So I find that like repetitive. Whereas like, yeah, like when you're level grinding on something like 14 or Genshin, like, okay, yeah, it is repetitive, but at least I'm using some skill behind it.
Okay.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Also, day 2, just wander around the dealer's hall, and you get to see like some very interesting oddities and like just some rare merch around the exhibit hall. So here we have like some Figment merch from throughout the years, and I'm just like happy to see like just Figment merch here. Like, yay, Figment! And we ended up going into the D23 marketplace where you have to go to a virtual queue for that. So I woke up.
Don't like this system.
We'll talk about that in our constructive criticism section. So I woke up at 6 a.m. to get in a freaking virtual queue for the D23 marketplace. And, like, okay, I wanted to see what was in there. Like, I wanted to get the Lena Bell plush. And I wanted to get some of the Duffy and Friends stuff because they had like a lot of the Duffy and Friends stuff. And you and I were just kind of looking around. They had some Tron 40th anniversary merch.
I wanted something, but nothing really caught my eye. And that's a bummer because I love Tron.
Yeah, I then ended up just getting the 40th anniversary pins instead. And when I get like an Eda bag with all like, I could display like all my like anniversary pins and event specific pins. Because some of the pins I like collecting are like either anniversary pins or like event specific pins, like Lunar New Year, Flower Garden Festival. I'm more of a nerd for that. And so we were just kind of like just looking around, and these are photos of you. You've found this really sweet looking DuckTales jacket.
Yes.
There was a tiny Disney afternoon section, so you could kind of see in the background. There was a Darkwing Duck sweater, and you found like this DuckTales Letterman's jacket.
I guess that's what you call it a letter. It's not really a letter.
Varsity jacket, starter jacket.
Yeah, kind of a starter jacket kind of thing. And at first I saw it and I was like, okay, but what's it got on the back? And I looked at the back, I'm like, yes. It was the classic. I love the new version. I'm not going to go and put the new version down at all. I love the voice cast. I like the fact that the triplets have very distinctive personalities now, and Webby isn't super annoying. I mean, she's super annoying, but in a very different way.
She's lovable.
Yes. She's very yay adventure, and I'm perfectly fine with that versus high-pitched, annoying, squeaky voice. But earlier this year, during part of that whole, I was home alone and I had a beer, and I decided I'm going to watch some DuckTales, and I watched the original miniseries. I'm like, this is really fun. Nonsensical, but very fun. And just kept watching through, like, episodes of DuckTales here and there, and, like, you know what? I'm glad that, like, young me loved this show, because it actually is a pretty decent show. I mean, you know, for a kid's show, it's not like, you know, deep thought here, and not a lot of, you know, continuous stories outside of the, you know, 2-parters, 3-parters, you know, things like that. But DuckTales to me was my favorite Disney afternoon show for quite some time, until it was removed from Disney Afternoon, in which case the favorite show would get replaced with Darkwing Duck, of course, which I always thought was a spinoff, though technically it's not. And I guess when I got a little bit older, Gargoyles. So those are always like my 3 favorite Disney Afternoon things. I wasn't a Rescue Rangers person. My brother really liked Tailspin, so I watched a lot of Tailspin, but I was kind of always so-so on Tailspin. As much as I love the Jungle Book, just Tailspin, I don't know. Just kind of thought it was okay. And, I mean, I'm probably one of 5 people who even remembers Bonkers. So, yeah.
All right. Also, one of the cool things about the dealer's hall is, like, you can kind of wander through the exhibit hall, and then you'll have, like, a booth that is like having a panel right there and then. So we decided to just kind of like chill and check out the Orville panel.
Yeah, we checked out a few. This one really stood out because not only they have a handful of actors, they did not have Seth MacFarlane, sorry, but they did have a handful of the actors, and they ended up showing a really extensive trailer for season 3, which I didn't even realize was the Orville because it was like that intense. And I was like, what happened to this show? When I know I quit partway through season 1, apparently right before it got good, and it was just kind of a little wacky and like, okay, this is, you know, like the loser Star Trek, okay, but no, it's like going full, you know, Star Trek. We're having a war and we're trying to keep the peace and this kind of stuff. I'm like, whoa, okay, this show changed, and it was kind of cool hearing the people talk about it, and they talked about some pranks that were pulled on set and, you know, different little shenanigans and what have you. It was a lot of fun and really cool, and it actually got me hyped, and I need to go and give Orville a second chance. I've been saying that even before season 3 because people told me how good season 2 was, and this has really solidified my, okay, I'm going on to Hulu, I'm watching through seasons 1 and 2, and then I'll watch through 3 when it comes out.
And we also attended another panel like in the same area. It was like Cars Road Trip or something to that effect.
Yeah, it's a little, I don't know if it's a proper series or if it's shorts, but it is the newest Cars thing. And, you know, the first part of the panel was just like, okay, here's what the new Cars show is, and Lightning and
Tow Mater have to go to a wedding.
Yeah, it's Tow Mater's sister's wedding or something, and so they're doing a cross-country road trip there and having shenanigans. And it looks fun. For someone who doesn't really like the Cars franchise, I just like their restaurants. It still looks pretty fun to me, and I might just have that as a background while I'm doing something else type show. But then they talked about how they initially got all the ideas for Cars, and this Pixar staff went on a road trip down Route 66. Then the guy talked about how years later he and his family took the exact same trip again
because they needed something to do during the pandemic,
and they ended up stopping by a bunch of places that the Disney crew had stopped by, and they had a bunch of different, you know, memorabilia or photos of the creators and all this kind of stuff. So the places they went that influenced Cars now have Cars things there, which is crazy to think about. And, you know, that's kind of awesome to know that these little small towns not only recognized that Cars was, you know, using some of their iconography for the movie, but then also celebrate Cars for anyone going down Route 66, so they can get a photo with, you know, some of the characters, or they can get a photo with, you know, various signs or iconography that they would recognize from the movie. And honestly, that's, I think, one of the things that makes the panels here unique, because it isn't just a let's promote the show. It is a now let's tell you about the creation of the original movie, and let's talk about personal experiences that the staff have had. And I like that. I really do think that makes this a very unique event.
All right, let's go forward with day 2. All right, so there's a story behind this. So for some of these major panels, they call it the Hall D23 panel. So this is all the premiere, all the big stuff goes in Hall D23. And so to get into like a lot of some of these major panels, you need to go in the like this virtual queue reservation system like a month before the con to reserve, to mark down your preference, and you'll be entered into a lottery to see if you get the reservations. And some of these reservation lotteries I've done was, for example, the Duffy and Friends one.
That'd have been cool.
I would have loved to gone to the Duffy and Friends one. You can see the panel online. Someone actually did record the panel and just posted it online. And also there's I also got the wanted to do the Parks one, but
everyone wants to do the Parks one,
because that's the one that why everyone sticks around till Sunday and leaves at 12. And then there's another one, and because I was just doing this so fast, like I wasn't even looking at the descriptions because
you don't have time.
Yeah, because like, okay, I need to pick out my reservations just so I can see if I can get a lottery for it too. So the name of the panel was called Disney's Epic Entertainment Showcase, the musical, the extravaganza. I thought this was going to be a highlight of the different staged musicals Disney has done on Broadway.
And possibly premiering new Broadway productions.
Because there's a lot of talk about turning Encanto to a musical. Like, you know what? I can definitely see that.
That could work, yeah.
I can definitely see that. And I would love to see, like, how the casita just kind of, like, just looks like on stage. And, like, oh my god, that's, like, a set design, like, love that.
So many puppeteers.
Yeah, and, like, and Disney has a capability to do that. I mean, not only you got Lin-Manuel Miranda, and he probably may have written some other songs for Encanto that he could, like, just have in there. Like, just try, like, everything to look so magical and fantastical on stage with the lighting, the effects, projections that you can use. Like, that would have been amazing. But getting back to what the panel was, it was like Disney programming for Disney Plus, Disney Channel, etc., with musical numbers interstitched in between.
Yeah, it was a thing.
And then I'm just like sitting here, it's like, oh my god, like I don't want to walk out just now because we've been waiting, and I've been kind of hyping myself up. So I was like, yeah, at least we get to see like Susan Egan, at least we get to see. And I'm like, no, but you know what? Let me keep an open mind. Let's keep an open mind.
And before you judge us, people did walk out before us. We eventually kept topped out as well when it got to.
It just got a little bit too much. Like,
too much.
And like, okay, we'll just tap out right here. Okay, but what was just kind of promising to us is, as you can see on this screen, Electric Mayhem.
Yeah, they began not only talking, but before even talking about the Electric Mayhem, I guess they're doing like a on the road tour, like docudrama or whatever. But they actually had them
Electric Mayhem, Spinal Tap.
They actually had awesome. Can you picture that? They actually played it, and it was awesome.
And it's like, oh my god, childhood. And I was tweeting to my younger brothers, like, oh my god, I'm watching Electric Mayhem live. Yeah, my brother has like photos of Animal in his like recording studio at his house. Like, oh yeah. Like going in chat. No Rogers and Musicals. No, there wasn't Rogers and Musical.
There was not.
All right, and then we just want to like just pinpoint some highlights, because if we've really gone through this panel and gone through how we really feel.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff that looks like hot garbage.
We won't get into that.
We're not gonna get into that.
No. We like our brain cells. Thank you very much.
I will say this: Raven Simone was one of the hosts, and she was very entertaining.
Yes, I really liked it.
I'm legitimately saying it.
No, she was amazing. I love Raven Simone. I respect her. She has done a lot for the LGBT community, and I really respect her and the cast of Raven's House for walking out on the day of when there was like a lot of the LGBTQ protest within the Walt Disney Company. I won't say which Marvel night property decided to go forward with their red carpet premiere the same day night, and a certain actor, Oscar Isaac, who claims he's for gay people, but like he just shows up to this red carpet premiere. But on the very same day, Raven and her cast and crew just decided to just walk out and just join folks in solidarity to support LGBTQ members of the Walt Disney Company. If you wonder why I'm not a huge Moon Knight fan, yeah, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, but the photo here, this is your Greek bro, John Stamos.
John Stamos showed up, and he actually talked about like the last trip he took to Disneyland with Bob Saget, and that was heartbreaking to hear that story. He is such a stand-up guy. He, he has nothing but class, and you can say what you want about the ups and downs of his career. Dude always goes out there and gives 100%, whether he's an ER or Full House, and that's pretty amazing. Or some, I think he did a few of those Hallmark movies and stuff like that during the bad years. But you know what? He's still out there. He's still doing things, and I'm glad. I believe he's doing voiceover for something, right?
He's Iron Man and Spider-Man and his amazing
right.
Chibi friends or something.
Yes.
It's like the Spider-Man kids show.
Yeah, it's for something I didn't watch.
But I'm kind of curious to hear his Iron Man.
Yeah, but I did appreciate him being there and talking, and he's just a stand-up guy.
And other highlights of this panel is like we got Michelle Yeoh, the actor who played Short Round, to talk about American-born Chinese.
You need to put a comma there because it sounded like you said Michelle Yeoh, the actor who played Short Round, and I'm like, she didn't play Short Round. She played James Bond lady.
Yeah, Wyland in Tomorrow Never Dies.
That's right.
That was my intro to Michelle Yeoh, and then I saw The Heroic Trio, which is an amazing movie. Y'all should check out The Heroic Trio.
But yeah, they had a handful of very popular Chinese actors going in to talk about American-born Chinese, which is like a adventure series.
It's Monkey King. It's Monkey King, but like slice of life. It's based off a graphic novel series.
Neither of us have familiarity with. From the trailer, what I guess is that it's the day-to-day life of this boy, and then he either warps to the world of the Monkey King, or he becomes friends with the Monkey King somehow, and shenanigans occur.
Yeah, it's like Isekai Monkey King, but it looks really good. I'm actually curious to check this one out.
We put a lot of effort into it. The cast is strong. If anything, it has a strong cast.
Yeah, I'm just really glad that the actor for Short Round is getting a lot more work. I still need to see Everything All at Once. So it is on my list of stuff to watch. I'm just waiting it to be free on Prime because, like, yeah, you could rent it on Prime. Like, I'm just waiting for it to be free. I need to save my dollar bills, yo. All right. Oh yeah, we also had Tim Allen.
Yeah, for a brand new Santa Claus miniseries. I'm curious to see it. The trailer looked kind of plain. I'm trying to find the right word. I'm like, it looked fine. It looked like what you said. But see, like, because Tim Allen is still aging and Santa Claus is an old man, like, it just works perfect. Like, you just do less makeup on him. It's great. And just a few laughs in the trailer, and I'm just glad to see Tim Allen back. When I heard there's going to be a new Santa Claus, I was like, okay, what B-list comedian are they going to replace Tim Allen with? Eye roll. And now here's the star of the movie, Tim Allen. Yes! This movie is part of my childhood. You have no idea that there was a chunk of my life where every time we passed a Denny's, we would quote the movie. I'm not even making that up. That's literally something we do. We still do it in my family sometimes. And just think about the movie makes me smile. It's one of our Christmas, the first one specifically is one of our Christmas classics. Whenever we need to just do the whole, oh, let's watch something on Christmas, that is always like in the top 5, or Christmas Eve or what have you. You know, the sequels, you can say what you want about the sequels, but the original is great, and I'm hoping, Tim Allen seemed to be very positive about this, and I like the fact that he's back as Santa Claus / I always forget his actual civilian name, but it's great seeing him there. He's like, oh, we're going to answer some of the weird questions about the Santa Claus mythos and try to expand the scope of Santa Claus. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm very positive on this one, and it's supposed to start, I think, in November, so it'll be a great lead in to Christmas. And if it's good, then I'll show it, share it with my little brother and stuff like that, and the whole family. Hopefully, please be good. Please. I can't take it if it's bad. It'll hurt too much.
All right. So one of the highlights here, kind of like what just after just a slew of like, oh my god, facepalm this, facepalm that,
Yeah.
we were happy to see Wonderland Bakery
Getting a new season.
We were happy to see the Cheshire Cat on stage. Like, yes, I know it's a Cheshire Cat from, like, you know, cast member Cheshire Cat, but, like, the Cheshire Cat, I want to hug him.
I like the fact that Wonderland Bakery is popular enough to not only warrant another season, but they brought characters on stage for it, and that fills me with joy. If you ever want one of those turn your brain off and just kind of be in saccharine happy land, Wonderland Bakery is really great for that, because it's just this adorable kids show of like Alice's granddaughter and the children of like the Mad Hatter and the White Rabbit just having baking adventures.
And there's just something about that just seems so wholesome.
It's just so wholesome and sweet. And then there's all the references. So the Cheshire Cat shows up in a lot of episodes. The Sweepy Dog from Tugly Wood shows up. Tugly Wood shows up.
Everything about it. If you're a fan of the original Alice animated movie, and if you also have a great encyclopedia knowledge of like a lot of the old Disney shorts like back in the day, this is really a loving tribute to like 1950s Disney animation, that Mary Blair style of blend of like work done in this 3D Disney Junior kind of style. I've seen like a lot of interpretations of Alice that just get way too dark, and I'm just kind of like done with dark Alice. Like, it has a place in time, yes.
Also not Lewis Carroll's intent.
It has a place in time, like, don't get me wrong, Madness Returns is amazing. Like I said, place in time. But it's just nice to see kind of like the whimsy, wonder of Wonderland. And just kind of Alice, just like, okay, her catchphrase is curiouser and curiouser. Just more of that inquisitive side of Alice. And you're seeing this in like a little girl here, just kind of like, yeah, I just want to like own my bakery. I got Dinah here. I have my talking cookbook. And like, it's a lot of fun, and I can't stress enough that like I really recommend. Even our friend Robert, who's older than us, loves the show.
Because it's just sometimes you just want something happy and smiling. You don't have to go and binge 40 episodes. Just go and watch one episode. Have a smile on your face for a moment and go, this is super cute. And if you have kids who are, depending on the age of the kids, because I think they're, don't just 12-year-olds, they'll hate it. But like, you get some single-digit age kids. This is a great wholesome show to show them, and it kind of talks about the fun of baking and teamwork and all that stuff. Kids learn little simple lessons. It's great.
I'm trying to think of another high. Oh yes, I don't have the photos of this here because when I saw these guys on stage, I was just kind of like floored. We got a rap from Jeff Swampy Marsh.
Oh my gosh, yes we did.
Voice of not Dusseldorf. I can't right now.
Doofenshmirtz. Doofenshmirtz.
Phineas and Ferb fans.
Yes.
Doofenshmirtz went on stage to rap about the panel, and that was amazing.
Yes, and this is non sequitur, and him and I can't remember, there was the other creator. They're just rapping back and forth as their characters, and it was freaking hilarious.
I'm like, you guys, I think we pretty much got what we needed out of the panel.
I think after that happened, I think we literally one of us turned to the other and said, like, well, the panel's not going to get better.
Are we good?
Are we good? And the panel did not get better than that. That was the ultimate highlight. As much as I love John Stamos and Tim Allen,
oh come on, Cheshire Cat was at the Disney Junior segment.
And Cheshire Cat when they're showing off their Disney Junior shows, most of which I've never heard of and will probably never watch.
I do want to watch Firebuds because it has Lou Diamond Phillips in it, and the director of Firebuds actually did like the fact that I gave a shout out to Firebuds in my Filipino American representation in media infographic.
I mean, yeah, you may as well.
I mean,
the character is Filipino.
I mean, I do appreciate that, and I made like a joke descriptor because a friend of mine, Yami, she recommended like, yeah, you should add Firebuds to your list of Filipinos in animated media. Like, okay, yeah, and I was waiting for her response, like, because I was like, hey, what's Firebuds all about? And my descriptor text, my placeholder text was something to the effect, like, in a world where cars are sentient, a Filipino family of first responders must make peace with their overlords. So what is this, a Maximum Overdrive for Disney Junior? Sure, why not? All right, and then we also had like this wonderful segment from Under Wraps 2, you have a bunch of dancing mummies on stage to my favorite monster. I don't know why, but I was just so amused by this. I'll probably never watch Under Wraps 2. I've never seen Under Wraps 1. But dancing mummies on stage to pop music
I will point out here
was just,
that even the trailer
just
for
something
2
to me.
looks pretty cringy. But this is kind of the weirdness of this panel.
Because, like, we were expecting a Broadway panel just based on the title alone. And then I'm like, okay, we're going to talk about Under Wraps 2. Here's some dancing mummies.
Well, I mean, they had a whole High School Musical segment as well, and a Descendants segment. And
Which
so...
I kind of expect. Like, okay, yeah, Descendants music, cool. High School Musical, that's already a given. Electric Mayhem, awesome.
Yeah, so there were little highlights in here amongst, like, stuff that, like, people our age are going like, coolsies. And then it's just like, oh, something that kind of ties your childhood, or something so bizarre that you're like, what? Huh?
And I think, like, we talked about this to Ethan, and then he was like, why are they doing this?
Yeah, I think he was familiar with Under Wraps 1, but, because he's a bit younger than I am, but he was just like, why are they doing a sequel? Like, because they're out of ideas. The cast seemed to be having a fun time talking on stage when they were all talking with each other, but,
I just had to point this out.
There's a part 2 coming.
Okay. All right. So I think at that point we decided to just let's.
The cast was talking and making puns. We were like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, and like I think the main guy who's playing the mummy just started making mummy noises on stage.
Yeah, instead of talking, instead of answering questions.
And anyway, I think after that we decided to just go back to Exhibitor Hall. I wanted to go grab my coffee from Missouri because there was like this coffee blend company.
From Marceline?
Yeah, from Marceline, home of Walt Disney, and they actually, excuse me. And they actually do like just make all these different flavored coffees. So I ended up ordering some s'mores coffee from them, and they actually did ship it to our house. And not only they had the s'mores coffee beans, but they also added in what was it? It was like white vanilla chocolate coffee as well as a sampler. Like, and their coffee smells so good, and it's very tempting, Jared. And you can't drink coffee.
I can't. It's a migraine trigger. And it smells delicious.
So we have a getting back to Under Wraps. So we have an Under Wraps expert, Ramsey's in the chat, and Ramsey says it's a sequel to a remake they made in 2020. So technically, it's part 3.
Oh, so then Ethan only knows like whatever the original one was.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with these Disney Channel original movies.
Okay, I just thought they made a sequel to something from like the 90s.
I need to see Johnny Tsunami though, because it has a guy who played Shao Kahn as a grandpa.
Oh, if I told Ethan that, it would make him like that movie more. Ethan went on to a whole rant about like Disney Channel movies and why he hated them as a kid, but watched them anyways because they were on. So he was going through the list of all his movies.
But yeah, one of these days, Hugh and I just need to just get like some margaritas and just watch Johnny Tsunami for Shao Kahn.
Yeah, we need to get appropriate drinks for snowboarding, and I'm not sure what that is other than weed. Sorry. Have you ever seen a snowboarder get interviewed? They probably have a drug of choice.
Yeah. Also, Comey in the chat says like, yeah, I love Halloween Town. I've actually heard good things about Halloween Town because Ethan said he liked Halloween Town.
That was one of the ones he did like, yes.
Okay, so I think like for like our more like less scary stuff for Halloween, like we should probably just go through the Halloween Town movies, because what's her face? Carrie Fisher's mother is in it.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she plays. I know she's
a witch
like
or something.
Yeah, she plays like a recurring character in the Halloween Town movies. Like I've been meaning to watch Debbie Reynolds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's a legend in her own right. She was in Singing in the Rain. I mainly know her from Singing in the Rain. Yeah,
I've seen Singing in the Rain more than I've seen Psycho, which
wait, Psycho's in that Jamie Lee Curtis's mother?
Oh, no, I thought
Janet Leigh.
You're right, it is Janet Leigh. What Hitchcock movie is Reynolds in? I know she's in a Hitchcock movie.
I forgot in the back of my mind, but maybe someone in the chat can just name it so I don't have to Google this.
Yeah, someone look up the Debbie Reynolds Hitchcock movie. It's not The Birds. That's
no, that's Tippi Hedren. That's
yes.
Birds.
It's the chick from Roar. Whatever. Look, the point being is that I have very little experience with Disney Channel movies unless they came out, say, early 2000s when I had to babysit my brother.
But you know what? if you get us on a tangent on Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme.
I have seen that like twice. And I enjoy it because it is terrible and therefore it is enjoyable for me.
I mean, if you want to talk about the 80s and 90s Disney Channel original movies like A Friendship in Vienna, I can definitely talk about that. Because that was like my intro to World War II, the European front. And there's also Goodbye Miss 4th of July, which is about like a Greek immigrant family moving to the U.S. with Louis Gossett Jr.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely much more versed in those. But anywho, getting back to the exhibit hall. So one of our favorite, one of my favorite places to visit is I think it's Devon Eden Galleries, where they have like props from like Disney park rides. So this is here we are with the Hitchhiking Ghost,
the originals
from Walt Disney World before they made use hologram projections for the Hitchhiking Ghost in the Disney World attraction. So we're just here just kind of posing the animatronics, and they actually are still working. So like the guy just cranked it up like, yeah, let's just pose with our happy haunt friends here. Also, if you go in the chat, partial to Not Quite Human. Yeah, that has Alan Thicke in it. I remember Not Quite Human. And I also remember when they made like the direct-to-TV Parent Trap sequels, and that was wild.
How do you... No, I'm not even going to ask. No, just don't, no one tell me. Do not tell in the chat. I don't care.
Parent Trap Hawaiian Honeymoon.
So it just continues the story and the parents are together now and the twins just go off and have shenanigans?
It's your children.
Children of the twins?
Let's just leave it at that because it's a convoluted universe that you don't want to know.
No, I don't want to know.
It's not a smile. Yeah. Let's talk about pin trading.
Please, move on.
Let's move on. So, there's also the so at the end of day 2, we decided to just kind of just walk around with booths. Like okay, that we're still open because this is also a good time to just kind of like just browse around because not a lot of people were there. Also, day 2 is the same day as the D23 exclusive for Oogie Boogie Bash. So if you're a D23 member or something, they had a special Oogie Boogie event for them. I thought about doing that, like, oh, dang, that means we have to be at Oogie Boogie. We have to be at Oogie Boogie Bash, and then wake up the next day early for the parks panel.
Yep, that'd have been fun.
Yeah, like I'm probably not gonna do that.
It still would have been cool to, because I don't know what other exclusive stuff, some bonus things it would have gotten, but it would have been interesting.
Yeah, so we decided to just walk around the this is the studio store. The studio store, they actually do have a physical storefront over in Hollywood. It's right next door to El Capitan, hence the El Capitan sign here. And they also had like a lot of exclusive pins. A lot of the good ones were already sold out by the end of day 2. But I just kind of want to just look around and see what was there. A friend of mine was asking me like, oh, can you buy pins for me? Like, yeah, I'll see what I can do. I can't guarantee anything. But I did pick up a Robin Hood pin here because like I do love me some Robin Hood. Robin Hood top 5 Disney animated movies. So, excuse me, one of my favorites, and it's funny because anytime I have a conversation about like favorite Disney male leads, like who is your Disney husbando, someone will in the conversation will phrase it like, well, I'm not a furry, but Robin Hood. Like, girl, I don't have to preface it with I'm not a furry. I just flat out say Robin Hood, hands down. So, okay, so that just wraps up day 2. Also, just before we get into day 3, where we're going to talk more about the parks, you can, well, if you are interested in a light ring or any office supplies that you might need, you can use our code Cadillac Cats for 10% off your order at multitasky.com. Multitasky is Asian American owned. They have laptop holders. In fact, the laptop that this is on a laptop holder. I have my iPhone holder, so in case if I just need to just have my iPhone just sit standing there, it's great for that too. I have mats, I have phone chargers, just any kind of office supply you need. This is a great place to do it. Support independent companies, support Asian American owned businesses. All right, day 3. So we decided to wake up early for this.
Mm-hmm.
So anywho, day 3 is traditionally, historically, the day of the Disney Parks panel. And the key is to just get up, crack at dawn for this one because, dang,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I chose a very simple costume to get into. I decided to cosplay as Arthur from Sword in the Stone. Brought my Excalibur and everything, and just so we weren't rushing. And plus, we had like parking issues. Like for the first 2 days, we'll get into that in constructive criticism.
Yeah.
We ended up just taking Uber to the convention, and honestly, the cost it took to Uber from our place to the convention center is the equivalency of like just paying for parking. And like, okay, I think like if there's ever a convention in the Anaheim Convention Center, I think we're just gonna Uber it because I'll get to again constructive criticism. Just parking. I don't know how parking became a nightmare scenario. It normally isn't for the Anaheim Convention Center, but now it is.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on.
I don't know what's going on either, but for some reason it just decided to become nightmare scenario. Anywho, day 3. So we decided to just go to Disney Parks panel, and we find out like the Parks panel is full. And we got there like
No
at
surprise.
8 a.m. in the morning. Like, no surprise. It is a huge panel, and the D23 hall can only hold so much people. So you and I were just kind of just chilling, just waiting for just the doors to open. Now, there's a line to get into the convention centers. We decided just not to go in that line. Like, let's just wait for people to just go through the doors. And we'll just sit here right in front of here and just wait for just the doors to open up. Because we didn't really see any point in, like, going all the way to a line to be lined up in front of the double doors when they're going to open, like, and wherever. So you and I were just probably just gaming on our phones.
Yep.
I was just, like, placing bets for panel announcements, even though, like, we had our hopes pretty low.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my big thing that I was hoping for was Tomorrowland Disneyland update.
That's been the thing I've wanted for a very long time because Tomorrowland used to be my favorite, and now it is arguably my least favorite.
Yeah, Tomorrowland you could just probably skip over unless you're going for Galactic Girl.
Yeah.
Or Space Mountain.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, to be honest, Main Street has a lot more to offer. A, some amazing restaurants. B, have you ever been on like the fire truck? It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so when we went inside the convention center, we just decided to just grab a quick breakfast, and then we would decide to just go into their 100 Years of Wonder Pavilion. And this is a pretty neat pavilion because
This was pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, and instead of waiting in line, for the parks panel, it was just us just kind of like going through all these different dioramas of like the history of the Walt Disney Company. And so you have like this diorama set here of Steamboat Willie.
That was so cool.
And Rams in the chat is not even Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters. Well, if the line is short, like I'm
not an Astro Blasters fan now.
Yeah.
Fighting using a laser gun to fight robots to save batteries is not high on my priorities list.
I miss the old Circle Vision that was in that theater, but I'm not against going on Buzz Lightyear Astro Blasters if like the line is like less than 10 minutes long.
Plus, I mean, you have the museum thing in Main Street. You have the air conditioning ride on Main Street. So you get some good stuff. I'm not even
Gibson Girl on Main Street.
Gibson Girl. I already said good food things. And technically, I consider the Disney Railroad, since it starts on Main Street, that's also something. That's one of the best rides in the entire park. I'm not even joking on that. That's just a really good, relaxing, chill out, look at some dinosaurs ride.
And then you also had like just some standees from like the original Snow White premiere here. I just love how I just love just looking at these 1930s aesthetics here too. And then you also had like the opening day of Disneyland in 1955. So there's me as Arthur, and you were you? Yeah, you were bounding as from DuckTales.
Yep, Dewey.
The blue one.
Put on a bunch of blue and grab my jacket. That was my speed. I don't want to put on anything heavy. I'm exhausted. It's early. I'm just throwing on this DuckTales jacket I just got, and gonna wear blue.
Yeah, for Arthur, I just had to just pull the tunic on, just put the socks on, get the boots on, and just get Excalibur and my matching Loungefly bag for Sword in the Stone, and like, okay, let's go.
Plus, I love the fact that I can use my Prinny hat for something else.
And also the nice thing about this area is you even have like a setup for Flynn's Arcade here too.
With Space Paranoids. Can I actually stand next to Space Paranoids?
It was really interesting because you saw like all these Gen Z and like early millennial kids just line up have like this long line for the Disney Channel diorama booth. But you and I were just geeking out over the Dick Tracy booth.
Yeah, well, the thing with me is that I don't have much nostalgia for Disney Channel, as we didn't have it when I was growing up. It existed, we didn't have it.
I have nostalgia for like old Disney Channel before they had commercials. when Disney Channel was more like family, like all ages oriented, than like, okay, this is a Nickelodeon part 2.
Oh, I would, specifically when they had the special weekends, I would watch those because that's how I saw Rescuers Down Under. They'd almost always play DuckTales and The Legend of the Lamp, which I gotta watch that again, man. That's awesome. And 2 or 3 other like of that Rescuers Down Under era of movies they would show, and I would just sit there and watch like all the weird little animated movies that they would like, the ones that no one wanted or cared about.
Okay, let's see. And then also, they had the D23 Gold Member Lounge. Since you and I are Gold members, this is a great place to just kind of like just chillax and have food.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And then off to the Disney Parks panel. So we ended up watching like a stream, a live feed of the Disney Parks panel.
With 5,000 other people.
Yeah. Well, not really 5,000 other people, but there were already people already camping there because, okay, they're probably going to live stream this here, so we're just going to camp out here.
Yeah.
So they had the same idea. But there was a panel before that at that, what was it? It was on like Walt Disney's hometown or something. I forgot what it was, but I remember you were highly vested in it.
Yes. That's where Nitpicky Guy was, where the lady said the name of a ride or something, and then he's like, "Oh, wrote the book about da-da-da," but doesn't even know the name of the ride. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, my brother somehow showed up and put on a Tron jacket." And hey, to Nitpicky Tron Guy, you rock. I'm glad we were able to like kind of talk back and forth there for a little while. You, me, and my brother would have like the best Disney podcast because it would just be us being so nitpicky about stuff.
Yeah, so that Tron Guy was cool.
Yeah,
he was like, he also had to vamoose after that too, because there was also the 40th anniversary Tron panel like right afterwards. Like, oh, I could have done that too. Like, we wanted to stay for the whole thing because we thought there would be like major announcements towards the end, because we were teased with like, we're gonna save the good Disneyland stuff for the end. And don't get me wrong, I love Josh Tomorrow. He's an amazing presenter. I preferred him over the time when Bob Chapek back in 2019 when we saw this panel.
Oh yes, 100,000
Amaro
times.
over Chapek any day of the week. We believe in you, Amaro.
Yes. That being said,
all right, let's talk about what we liked about the Parks panel, because if we talk about everything about the Parks panel, we'd be here all day.
It's also me yelling a lot.
Mm-hmm. All right, so good thing, San Francisco and DCA.
So, remember when I said there'd be a great place to have people popping their heads out and saying things? This. If we could have that, where we have just random San Francisco citizens, or like maybe even the news, just bringing up stuff that either Big Hero 6 is doing, or just weird techno stuff happening, I think you could do some really fun thing with that. I'm hoping it's not just we made the buildings look a little different. I want them to really put some effort into this and put some life into it, because I think this is a really cool idea. And I think we've all been waiting for something Big Hero 6.
Yeah, I've been waiting. Let's put it this way. Like, okay, I'm not expecting like a Big Hero 6 ride over at DCA. Yeah. Like a meet and greet zone would be nice. Like a place that kind of has that vibe of San Francisco. We can go to the Aunt's Cafe type thing there.
I want to hug Baymax again.
Yes, I want to hug Baymax. I want to say hi to Mochi because I love Mochi. Mochi is one of my favorite Disney Pixar cats. And
it wasn't Pixar. It's regular Disney Animation Studios.
Oh yeah, sorry. I keep forgetting this is a Disney anime feature. For some reason, my brain just goes to Pixar. I don't know why.
They both use similar styles, so it just starts to blend. But yeah.
But I'm actually looking forward to seeing how this section goes, because this area in the park, I always felt like this could use a revitalization.
Well, there's no real reason to go there unless you want to grab a piece of bread. Or go to the Ghirardelli store to pick up like iced cream or something.
They can still keep the Ghirardelli store. It kind of still blends in with that San Francisco kind of thing.
That stuff all works. My point is the fact that there's really no reason to go to that section of DCA. And if they can add even just meet and greet zones, that gives you a reason to go to that section of DCA.
Because I would love to pose with Baymax skin. I love that dude. Yeah.
Oh, if they made Aunt Lady's restaurant or cafe, I would totally go to that as well.
Oh, ditto. All right. I'm really liking how Tiana's Bizarre Adventures looks like at night. Oh. When they show that nighttime, like what it looks like, it reminds me of Avatar Land so much. And how the place just kind of like glows and just comes to life just like a bayou looks amazing. And they were talking more about the effects of what they were going to do to make you feel like you're in the Louisiana bayou and you're going to follow Tiana and my other Disney husbando Wait for it, Louis. Yes, one of my husbandos from Disney is an alligator who plays jazz.
I was gonna say is who plays the trumpet. And I'm gonna say this. My initial worries about this was, okay, so what are we gonna do? It's gonna be the exact same ride, but then we're gonna have two frogs, just shoved in different places. And for them to see what they were showing, it was like, oh, they're gutting the ride and making this completely new. It'll be a whole new experience. Because there was a ride in Epcot called Vikings, and it was super Maelstrom, and it was super awesome, and I never got to go on it. Then they rethemed it to Frozen, and it's lame. And I went on it, and I was like, man, this is dumb, and it just looks like they took out the Viking warriors and the trolls and stuff, and just put random
put Elsa's head on a troll.
Elsa's head on a troll, basically. And it was like, this doesn't work, and I don't like it. But if you got the whole thing, you still have obviously the log flume system, and then you're going to replace it with characters, songs, the whole feel of the bayou and of New Orleans. And then you see what they're showing, and I'm like, okay, this looks very promising. So hopefully it'll be a really good redo when it's done.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to just see how this just turns out, because it looks really beautiful with all the art they've done for it, with all the effects and how they were talking about how they did a lot of research, talking about the Mardi Gras culture of New Orleans. And I'm just happy to just go on an adventure with my Disney husbando, Louis. Yes, I prefer Louis over Naveen, okay? That's me.
I think everyone chooses Louis over Naveen.
I like my jazz playing alligator.
Naveen is not a particularly good male lead.
And one of my bucket list things, if I ever have time to do this, is to go to Port Orleans, French Quarter at Walt Disney World, because Louis comes out for Mardi Gras, and I want to give him a hug.
Aw. That's right. I've seen the pictures of the Louis face. It's great.
My Disney husbandos, I don't care what anyone thinks. Louis, Robin Hood.
They also have given it a story where it's after the events of the movie, where they're going and she needs inspiration for her next dish she's trying to create. So she's going on a little adventure with Louis.
I mean, she could have consulted Donald Duck, but okay. Kingdom Hearts 3 joke, by the way.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's cool that it's not just doing the whole oh, you're watching, because I just thought they're gonna
redo the ride, redo the story within the ride.
And I'm like, that's just really not gonna work. But if you make it its own thing and you make it its own story, I think there's a lot of potential here. And that's coming from someone who, when they first heard the retheming, I rolled my eyes and said, okay, let's see how this turns out. Turns out it's gonna turn out good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this, actually. All right, so let's talk about the word could.
Mm-hmm.
We heard a lot of the word could at this panel.
Yeah, too much.
And okay, so just to preface the audience, when you hear the phrase blue sky in the context of the Walt Disney Company, blue sky means here's a lot of ideas we have. We don't quite have them. We haven't broken ground. These aren't confirmed yet, but these are ideas, and here's some art concepts.
It's basically a bunch of Imagineers sitting in a room saying, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this? What if we did this?
Which is kind of neat. That's a pretty awesome job to have, because I think a lot of us kind of have that blue sky mentality about Disney parks and parks in general.
And it would have made its own really good separate panel with the Imagineers there.
And I would have also liked to see maybe a blue sky panel or exhibit at D23, because DCA, they used to have a blue sky wine cellar.
That was great.
Yeah. And you get to see all the ideas here, but I kind of felt like when we were just talking about a lot of the what if here for all the blue sky ideas, it's okay, I like the idea. Yeah, what if you could go to the casita in Encanto? I'm like, yeah, but no ground's been broken. What if you can see what's beyond Big Thunder Mountain, a villain's land? Yeah, you know what, Castle Oblivion World, sure, let's go. But when you haven't really broken any ground and you don't really have it's a parks panel.
Yeah,
we're expecting here concrete news when you plan to have things, what dates when you plan to have things available.
And this was a big chunk of this panel, by the way. It's not they came on for 5 minutes and said, no, they were there for 20 some minutes doing all the what ifs and the rides they could maybe do someday in the future, possibly, who knows, or not.
Because here, we did get to hear a little bit more updates with the e-ticket Avengers ride, which is going to be like, okay, we're going to go blast into the multiverse, and we're going to go up against King Thanos.
I missed the original concept of soaring over Wakanda, but this could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it, but they didn't really give any details about what the ride system's going to be. If we're still going to be using Quinjets. I mean, Quinjets can still, like, just...
Yeah, they could say that, like...
Go through space and time. Through the multiverse, yes.
Hank Pym or something has modified them, or insert any number of Marvel scientists has modified them for multiversal travel. That's not that big of a deal. Hell, Doctor Strange can cast a spell. That's not that big of a deal. I can deal with story elements. I want to know what the ride system is. I want to know an opening date. I want to know that kind of stuff. And to just say, hey, here's an artwork of, like, some of the multiverse guys you might run into, and it'll be different rides every time. I'm like, okay, fine. That's cool. Dates,
so I'm like, is this going to be a Star Tours motion simulator? Yeah. Is this going to be like... what's it going to be?
Are we going to be doing Spider-Man and we have to keep punching the screen for an hour and a half? Because that's not really fun. What is it going to be? I need details, and there's no details.
Yeah, that's why, like, if we were here to really talk about, like, everything they talked about, like, okay, we could be here all day.
And I'd be yelling.
Yeah. But something I do like to note that let me just double check my notes here. But at least you get to look at this pretty photo concept of Walt and Mickey here. Over at Hong Kong Disneyland, they're getting this beautiful statue of Walt and Mickey. This is usually known as the partner statue, usually at the main entrance around Main Street-ish in all the Disney parks. And I really like the statue of Walt and Mickey here. It's so much better than, like, what Epcot's getting with Walt looking like he's about to take a dump.
Yep.
And I also, if you know anything about Disney or Walt Disney trivia, the way how he's pointing his fingers, like, yeah, they're probably just copying, like, a pose he did where a cigarette had to be removed. Or cigar had to be removed because the homeboy loved his smoking.
He'd love his smoking. And that's why if you ever see when he points or anything, it's always of two fingers because there's supposed to be a smoking implement betwixt them.
But yeah, but I just love this statue here.
They also erase it from photos occasionally too.
All right. Now here's the part where we rant and reveal our true feelings. So, at the beginning of the panel, we were told that we would have, like, more Disneyland news towards the end.
Yep.
Okay, so we get something about, like, okay, Walt Disney Company is celebrating their 100-year anniversary, and California, our Disneyland theme park, is going to get a lot of that as seen in the parks. You know what? Cool.
Yeah.
That's great. Wait, that's your announcement? A lot of us were
also
waiting to hear about any updates for Tomorrowland.
You're forgetting they also talked about a new parade.
Oh, I forgot about that new parade.
New parade, new nice spectaculars. Okay, whatever. So we're talking about, like, new. They talked about Zootopia Land. They talked about new rides. They talked about the cruise ships. They talked about a lot of stuff, and then wasted 20-some minutes on Blue Sky, and we waited through all of that to be told, hey, we're gonna do some 100th anniversary stuff and a new parade. You can imagine the sheer amount of swears that came out of my mouth after that.
Because we were really waiting to hear back, okay, like, there's been a lot of talks about what's to be done about the People Mover tracks in Tomorrowland. For those of you of our friends who are more familiar with Disney World than Disneyland, we don't have a People Mover. And part of our culture here with Disneyland is you don't know what we lost. Every time Jay and I go to Disney World, go to Magic Kingdom, first thing we go on is the People Mover.
Sometimes more than once.
And it's like, it's very weird trying to explain to people who've only done Disney World and not Disneyland, yeah, we lost a lot when we lost People Mover out here.
The tracks are still there. It's not like we got rid of the entire thing to build a ride. The tracks are still there. They could presumably repair the tracks and start up the People Mover tomorrow.
Because in 2019, okay, you got all this hype for Star Wars Land, you got all this hype for other stuff. We're probably going to hear about Tomorrowland at the next D23. Fine. And a lot of people were wondering what can be done about Tomorrowland, because you got the America Sings building. I still call it the America Sings building. Just standing there, and, like, what are you going to be doing about that? Because we don't really need Star Wars Launch Bay anymore.
Nope.
Because that just wasted space there. And then you have the People Mover tracks that are just still hanging out there. And then you also have people in Florida because you still have the old building that had Alien Encounter, and that's just being used as cast member like hangout space. But the structure and the seating style is still there, and Stitch is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And people in the Tomorrowland, Walt Disney World community, it's like, okay, what's going to happen with that? And we were hoping to just hear like more news. We're not asking like Tomorrowland, a new Tomorrowland to be done tomorrow. We're asking like, what do you have planned here? Because a lot of people have been wondering about like, what is the future Tomorrowland? Because that area has not really been cared for, and it doesn't not feel like a land of tomorrow. It just seems more like, okay, it has Galactic Grill, let's go. Oh, hey, Space Mountain's there. Like, I wonder how long the line is. Okay, whatever.
And there's also been a lot of rumors for a while about, possible changes to Matterhorn and things like that. So there have been a lot of rumors about stuff happening to the parks. So you can imagine the anticipation of hearing about that kind of stuff. And then is a parade and some merch. You could have told us with the initial Disneyland stuff, and we could have just basically sat through the world stuff, and then we probably could have headed out. We wouldn't need to know about the boat or the foreign parks or Blue Sky garbage. We could have just been done. Waited for nothing.
I mean, I liked hearing about like what's new for the cruise lines because you and I are now curious about like checking out a Disney cruise.
Oh yeah. I'm throwing the cruises under the bus as something that, like, to me, when I go to a parks panel, I'm not expecting to hear about boats. But the Disney cruise lines do seem pretty impressive in terms of the sheer amount of entertainment they provide.
And for the sheer amount of value you're getting for that, too.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, one day we'll definitely do a Disney cruise. It's just a matter of timing. And it's, for a cruise, it's actually relatively inexpensive compared to then spending a week in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like I'd totally be down for this. And there's like exclusive characters you get to meet and greet. And I know you're a huge fan of character dining, and it's like almost character dining like every night.
Yep.
And like, yeah, it should be a lot of fun. And one day we'll definitely do a Disney cruise because like I've never been on a cruise. I kind of want to try this. This should be fun. And then, yeah, just kind of like just be teased around and being jerked around during this panel, just expecting like amazing news towards the end about Tomorrowland, and like, is there anything that's going to be done to fix up Tomorrowland? And even like parks people, because I follow all the parks community fandom, there's been like a lot of repairs that needs to be done with It's a Small World.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's also one of like the disappearing hula girls. There's a section where you're kind of like in Polynesia and It's a Small World, and there used to be like a line of hula girls there a lot of time, and now they're down to one hula girl. And like, where's the rest ones? Yeah.
Time.
All right, I got a question from Rams in the chat. Is there any leaving California? I don't know. Anywho, so yeah, that's just
he's asking, do any of the ships sail out of California? And I
yes,
believe,
San Diego.
Yes, they do. Yeah, out of San Diego.
Yes, there is a cruise terminal in San Diego that goes through Mexico. There is a discount, like, hey Rams, want to join us? There's like a buy to get bring two friends free. Anywho.
And remember, when we're buying the tickets, you're under 9. Remember, you're under 9 years old. Just walk on your knees. It'll be fine.
But yeah, we decided to spend the rest of Sunday just kind of like just wandering around the dealer's hall. So just a couple like just more photo op experience. We just decided to visit the weddings and honeymoons area. So you're browning as like the blue duck, Dewey. Yeah, Dewey, and I'm like dressed up as King Arthur.
Yeah.
And here's us with Baymax here.
Yay.
I really like the new Baymax series of shorts. It's so wholesome, so cute. Love it. And then, let's see. Oh, Rams. Yes, I'm one of those kids that play in the Little League.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we also had the Besame booth, and they were selling like villain-themed makeup. Like, okay, I had to cave in, and I ended up buying some villain lipsticks, and they actually gave me a free Evil Queen tote bag. I'm like, I love this tote bag.
I might argue that the Disney villains are more popular than the actual pro tags.
I love Disney villains. Like, if I had to choose between villains and princesses, like, hell yeah, I'm a villain. And Besame had like all these photo dioramas that you could pose with. So here's us with the Evil Queen's laboratory. Also, Loungefly had like a pretty huge presence there. I'm a huge fan of Loungefly, like clothes and bags. So I ended up not coming home empty-handed. I ended up getting a Muse bag and a Muse skirt from Hercules. It is the anniversary of Hercules, the 25th anniversary. And
he did go the distance.
Yes. The 25th anniversary of Hercules, I need to grab like my Muse skirt. I need to grab my Hercules merch because... And it's themed to the scene where Meg sings I Won't Say I'm in Love. And I just love that song. And I just love Meg. And I have a lot of people just come to me like, where are you cosplaying as Meg? Your voice sounds a lot like Meg. I'm like, I'll think about it.
It does kind of, yeah. That's weird. I never thought about that, but as soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, kind of.
Like, where are you cosplaying as Meg? Your voice sounds a lot like hers. Like, I'll think about it. I just need the right wig. I mean, I have the dress. I just need the right wig. Mm-hmm. And I've seen like a lot of doll variations of Meg, like more like these like beautiful like ball gown type things. Like I want to make that.
Yeah, that feels very out of character.
Yeah, it feels very out of character. But like I'm a huge fan of purple. I love purple.
It's a good color. It's a royal color.
And now here's a photo of you and your friend Gelatoni.
Yep.
So we ended up getting the virtual queue again for the D23 marketplace because I spied with my eye that people had Gelatoni plushes. Yep. They didn't have Gelatoni plushes the day before.
Yes. That's why I got a DuckTales jacket thinking, well, no Gelatoni, whatever, I'll go for DuckTales.
And I'm like, Jay, I'm going in.
She got all the Gelatoni merch. I was literally taking a break because I needed it after standing for 2 hours for a parks panel that pissed me off. And she still had energy to go check out the shops after we had lunch. And I was like, go for it. I'm just sit here and play on my phone and pretend that, like, the panel was awesome. And then you come back, you're like, here's the Gelatonis. And another thing. And another thing. And I'm like, did you buy the entire store?
So for context, the reason why a lot of people were going gaga for the Duffy and Friends merch is this is like the one time where you can get the official Duffy and Friends merch.
Yes.
That won't be bootlegged. If you get it off AliExpress, that you can get at retail price, so you're not paying a finder's fee, you're not paying like a middleman fee,
or paying $1,000 to fly across the Pacific. And
these were like, and this is like the one time where like people had a chance to get like the Duffy Bear, they had the Cookie the dog, Gelatoni, who's your man.
Mm-hmm. It's my personal favorite.
Yeah.
If you get into these characters, people, you will have the one that is your personal favorite, and then you're going to lament the fact that you can get none of the merch in the States.
Yeah, I ended up getting Lena Bell, and Lena Bell's become my favorite, and Lena Bell has been my companion when I was down with the Rona. It's like, yeah, I was touch-starved because I can't really interact with anyone physically while I had Rona while I was in quarantine. So, like, okay, I have Lena Bell that I can hug. So... ended up just going buck wild, just getting Gelatoni merch, and then I also was buying Lena Bell merch for a friend of mine in San Francisco because they had the Lena Bell ears. Like, I want Lena Bell ears too. Like, sure, I'll get you the Lena Bell ears. And they also had a Duffy and Friends panel, I might add, and the line was already filled. The line for the panel was already filled 2 hours before.
Oh yeah.
And like a lot of the people who wanted to go to the Duffy and Friends panel, they were upset they couldn't make it to it because like it being like already full like 2 hours before, like whoa. And I don't blame them for just being upset about it, but I also don't envy the cast member who has to be in that position to turn people away.
For that guy.
I felt so sorry for him too, because like, okay, it sucks for everyone, but I think D23 underestimated how popular these characters were with American audiences. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are getting a Duffy and Friends stop animation type series on Disney Plus. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be fun, I guess.
Yeah, that could be cute. And
I wonder if they're doing that to test if there's more popularity to actually bring some of those characters over, or at least to the Japan Pavilion and freaking Epcot. Come on.
You do see artwork of Gelatoni in the Italy Pavilion during Festival of the Arts. It's like, oh my god, Gelatoni representation. But I would love to like just have like the Duffy and Friends like meet and greets out here, or at least have them at Epcot, like in their respective like areas.
Yes.
Like you have Gelatoni in Italy. Lena Bell, just doing Lena Bell stuff. I don't know where you put Lena Bell.
Is that the ballerina?
No, Lena Bell's the fox.
Viola was the fox. Dang it. The ballerina bunny could be in America.
Because she's the Broadway ballerina bunny. Cookie Ann can hang out in China.
In China, yeah. They could figure this out. This could work. This would be great. And it would probably skyrocket Epcot attendance just to be able to get the photo ops of these various characters, maybe even buy some merch.
Yeah, so like they had like a lot of the Olani outfits. Yeah, so we ended up also getting the plush keychains of like each of the characters there that had their Olani outfits. So like, okay, when's the next time I'm gonna get these?
So
probably not ever. So I ended up just getting the whole Duffy Friends set because like this is probably the one chance, because the other appeal to the Duffy Friends is they have like a lot of different outfits. And you have like a lot of different outfits you can buy your Duffy and Friends plush.
They have little, like, what, 3-inch tall, thereabouts, 3 1/4 inch, little plushie, mini plushes, and then they have clothing you can get for them. So
and they also have them for like the regular size plushes too, because the culture in the Asian theme parks is you bring your like Duffy and Friends plush, dress them up, and just pose them around. And they even have like photo op spots exclusively for your Duffy Friends plush. And I'm like, and I know they're trying to make the Noimo thing out here a thing, but I haven't really seen it as much. There's a few people, like I'm even trying it myself. I have the Marie Noimo, but I also want to get the other 2 cats from Eureka Cats, because like I like Marie, but I also like the other cats just as equally.
I feel like I would do that with Duffy, but I would do it, not Duffy, with Gelatoni, but I'd do it out in Florida. Mm-hmm. Where locations make more sense rather than, hey, it's Gelatoni at Pixar Pier.
Gelatoni's at the docks. Yeah, so, and then you can actually watch the Duffy and Friends panel online, and it's essentially an intro to all the characters, and like a lot of the people just cheering for their favorite characters. And the last 5 minutes is Lena Bell and Duffy cast
people.
Yeah. Cast members just kind of like just hanging out on stage, just kind of like just
posing
around. It reminds me of the fake Kigurumi shows at like Anime Expo. They're standing there for 5 minutes and everyone is going insane. I love it. And also I'm just jealous that the parks attendees, the ones who are actually at the parks panel, actually got like a Lena Bell pin, and I feel sad because I wanted that Lena Bell
pin. Got snacks and free posters.
They got snacks from Portos.
Yeah.
Like, that could have been our breakfast. Mm-hmm. Portos. Yeah, Downtown Disney is getting a Portos. Like, okay, I can grab Portos. Sure. And then we also had to give this guy his own room for slides. This is a Wayne Zielinski cosplayer from Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. Not just Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but specifically Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, where he has, like, the audience, like, diorama, like, right in front of him, the audience stage, when he's, like, when they're all shrunk and stuff. So I thought this was extremely clever. We kept running into him on Sunday because I think by 12 o'clock, everyone just decided to just pack up and leave.
Yeah, everyone was just there for the Parks and Entertainment panel, and after that, they're like, okay,
we're done. We're either going home or we're just going to go straight to Disneyland afterwards.
Yeah, and we just kind of wandered around for a little bit longer to hope that, when things clear up and try to get an easier route home. And I needed to just like collapse on couches. Yeah,
I think we were talking to our buddies who I do Christmas caroling with. We ran into them like, you know what? Burgers and a beer sound good right now. I think we're just going to take a lift home.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Constructive criticism. Where do we start? Let's start with getting into the con. Oh my God. Oh God. So like a lot of you who are like in the chat right now know I've been dealing with driving anxiety. Been getting a lot better, by the way. But I think when I talk about this kind of anxiety, I think it applies to like anyone specifically, but like just me just kind of getting through it. I had to like just after I parked, I had to like just take a 10-minute breather.
Yes.
So day one, we ended up being rerouted to Garden Walk. Okay, no problem. I'll park at Garden Walk. That's no big deal.
It's not fun walking back after everything, but we did get to go to Bubble Gums, so I guess that was fun.
Yeah, Bubble Gum Shrimps, that's an awesome place. Haven't ate there since I was in Hawaii, but like eating there again, food's so good. And then day two, the way that had traffic was being redirected. This is also going to make my list for convention horror stories.
Yeah.
So basically, to get into the Catellis parking lot, all it really is just like an easy left turn into the parking lot. And it looks like that left turn was closed, so we had to go to the other one. So like, okay, I guess I could just make a U-turn and I could either enter the parking lot from that direction or just go all the way to Garden Walk. That's no big deal. And this guy, and as I was making the U-turn, this traffic cop guy just started to yell at me. It's like, oh, you can't make a U-turn. I'm like, where does it say I can't make a U-turn?
I want to point out the car ahead of us, seconds before we started making the U-turn, did a U-turn. This isn't one of those, like, we just drove up like maniacs and made a U-turn. He was waving people to make a U-turn. Then we started, and then decided to get all pissy with us. And like, what?
And he started yelling at us, and he told us, like, oh, you need to make a left turn. I'm like, I can't make a left turn. I'm already in the lane. I can't make a left turn right now. I can't back up. You're asking me to get in an audience. You expletive. Can't quite curse, but you know how I feel.
Yeah, there was a certain song we played afterwards.
Yeah, there was a certain song by NWA. I can't quite say the title.
But anyone knows their songs.
So I rolled down the windows, blasted that while I was parking because I just wanted people to know my anger and my feelings because I was just that pissed off. And then I just remember being able to get a parking spot. Thank goodness we got an easy parking spot in that lot.
Mm-hmm. And
I needed to collect myself for like 10 minutes because this guy literally wanted me to get into an accident. He was not thinking about like safety, and that's what got more to me than anything else. So they're really, I can't really call this a D23 problem. It's more like Anaheim police problem because they're a problem.
Yeah.
Because clearly there was parking still available in that lot, and there was like no reason to close off the left turn signal into that lot. And if people need to make a U-turn or no U-turn, please have a sign indicating that we cannot make a U-turn because the car in front of us actually did make the U-turn. Oh my god. Mm-hmm.
And the light was still green for us to go, so we should have been. Had he not been like yelling at us, and we had stopped and almost gotten in a car accident because we stopped, we would have been fine. We'd have just made the U-turn, no big deal.
But this guy, he wanted us to get into a car accident. He wanted us, like, even though we've already completed a U-turn, he wanted us to like back up and make a left turn. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Don't yell at me for that.
And the light had changed, so had we backed up, we would have just gotten hit.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, Dick.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some ableism.
So on the first day, I was dressed like Matt Murdock, and it is my walking, like my blindness cane. It is literally my cane that I'm using for this. I don't usually use my cane at events because I consider it, a hassle, to be honest. And I also had a migraine because, of course, I had the migraine on the first day.
It was really bright at that con, and the sun was like, when we were going through the security line, the sun was just facing in our direction. So migraine plus sun in your eyes. Imagine that.
Yes. So I'm literally having to like navigate, like I have my sunglasses on and my eyes closed under my sunglasses. It was that bright and I was in that much pain. And the guy and then I had to like take, I was like adjusting my sunglasses, and he was like, oh, well, if he was really blind, he wouldn't have his eyes closed. And I'm like, first off, ableist prick. No, blind people can close their eyes. Believe it or not, that is something they have in their arsenal of options. And two, your security, shut the hell up and just let me do your job, but do not like harass the people walking through.
And at this point, when that happened, I ended up snapping a photo of him, and then thankfully I knew someone who knew someone in security who's like higher ups in the cast member security corps. So I just forwarded them their story, and that's how I was able to settle it, because this was like a really crappy way to start off D23, just dealing with an ableist cast member, because I expect better from cast members. I expect cast members to treat like every guest with kindness, and when cast members greet people like, hello friends, treat us like friends, treat us because we're all friends to Mickey, right?
Yep.
And because recently before D23 we got your DAS pass activated,
mm-hmm.
and the cast members we dealt with were very friendly in helping him getting it activated. We might have to activate it again because our pass is just renewed.
Yeah,
so
we'll have to.
Yeah, we'll probably renew that on the when we're back into parks later this month, because we're probably going to go on a weekday, because weekends are blocked off for Jay.
Yep.
We just expect more out of cast members, and please do not make assumptions about people and their disabilities. Because, yeah, that was not a magical way to begin D23. And to Chris, the cast member, I don't know if you're listening to this or word got to you that you were being a jerk to my partner, but please do the F better and have a magical day. You know what that means.
Let's have a Disney day.
Magical Day is also part of that too.
Oh, I've always known of the Disney one. That's one my friends used.
Okay. Yeah, have a Disney Day too. All right. Oh yeah, let's talk about the virtual queues.
I hate these. I hate these so much. Now look, I'm not a fan of standing in line for 3 hours either, but I hate the fact that it feels so randomized. And you have to get up at a crazy hour in order to like set it all up.
6 a.m.
And then you have that moment where you're like at 3 o'clock at the con, and there's clearly no one inside the booth.
Hey, can we go in? Is it okay?
Let randos in. Fine. The queue is for the morning. Dealer hall opens, and you have your queue for the first 2-3 hours. Fine. Then when there's no one around, let us in.
Like
the
even
booths.
like end of the day, like I'm glad that the studio store were like letting just random people just go in. That's fine. But then again, they were also low stock too.
Mm-hmm.
But I was happy to get my Robin Hood pin because like that made me happy. But like it was like last hour and there was hardly anyone over in the marketplace on Friday. I was like, okay, can you let us in because like there's not a lot of people here. There's no like queue here.
Yeah, there's no one inside the store either.
Yeah, I just wasn't a huge fan of like how virtual queue was handled. I know this is just one story out of many, but there's a lot of people who are just very disappointed on how virtual queue was handled. Like, I was very happy that we got the virtual queues for what we wanted as far as merch. We only really wanted the marketplace. Like, okay, Mickey's and Glendale's, that's not really our thing. We didn't really want, I didn't really have budget for, like, some of the more exclusive collectible items. Like, just take me to the marketplace just so I can get my Duffy and Friends merch. And I'm a happy camper.
Yep.
Okay.
And the same thing goes to the panels too. That's also highly annoying because then a bunch of panels just become unviewable. Thanks.
All right, let's go for some final thoughts.
Okay, I guess I'll go first. This is a strange event. I always kind of feel like an outsider at this. I feel like I'm not hardcore enough to be here. And while I do love a lot of the history stuff, in fact, that's probably my core reason for going, although I didn't know they're going to have so much like Duffy and Friends merch. That's a different reason for going, and that DuckTales jacket is great. And if you're into the merch stuff like that, then you're going to, go one day and just try your best to get into the store or have a friend do it for you. But when I heard people talk and how people act and stuff like that, like I feel like an outsider here, and I'm like some poser, like going like, yeah, I love Malt Misney and his famous Donald Mouse. Donald Mouse is I love all the Donald Mouse cartoons. Like that's how I felt, even though like obviously I've seen a lot of Disney stuff throughout my life. I go to the parks. I do a YouTube show about park food, and yet for some reason I feel like an outsider at this con. So at 3 days of feeling like I'm not supposed to be here, someone is just eventually going to go and say, "Why are you here? You go now. You go stand outside and you wait for the real Disney fans to finish, and you just sit outside and smile." And I don't know, like I understand it's all in my head. That's not on them. I'm still pissed off at the parks panel for sure. But then on the other hand, I got to sit in the Tron ride vehicle. I got to get pictures of the hitchhiking ghosts. They had a bunch of Imagineers doing panels and stuff.
We're much more hyped to do a cruise now.
We're hyped to do a cruise now. Like there's a lot of positive.
We were able to talk to a cruise cast member. Like, hey, I know your average usually feature families, but can you tell us what childless millennials can do on your cruises? And
specifically responded to that, which was wonderful. So there was a lot of positive for sure. I feel like an outsider is when I'm sitting at the thing we're waiting to watch the Cars premiere or the Orville premiere thing or whatever, like premiere, you know what I mean, the preview panel thing, and I'm just overhearing people's conversations, and I'm like, I cannot be friends with these people. I can't fit in with this group. It you know what it is, and no one will know this if you don't go to any of the park event days. It's Mermaid Day. Mermaid Day, I feel like I shouldn't be around these people. Like, I don't fit in with you. You're your own weird cult, and I'm not part of it. And I'm sitting there going like, yeah, hail the leader. Woo, leader. But I don't really mean it. And that's how I feel. And then, like I said, this is all in my head. The positive stuff still stands out. I'm looking forward to wearing my DuckTales jacket to the park. I'm glad I have a bunch of more gelatoni stuffs. And the photo ops are just freaking great. And honestly, you could skip all the news and stuff. I'm glad I didn't go to the Marvel or the Star Wars panel. I don't need to know about that garbage. But you know what I like? I like the fact there's a picture of me standing next to Baymax. I like the fact that they had like a giant freaking figment.
They had a balloon figment. It was like amazing.
Yeah. That's just the freaking, oh god, was that the Lego,
Lego socks.
Lego socks. Thank you. So.
Socks is the best cat.
Those things are awesome. And that's if I go again, I am going again to specifically do photo ops and
archive panels.
And archive panels. And like, that's it.
Thoughts, archive panels, and like if there's like anything nostalgia related, because I really wanted to check out the MMC panel because Dee Dee was actually at that panel.
Oh, that's nice.
And I would have like gone to check it out for Dee Dee, and like yeah, I actually did like watch a lot of the old MMC shows. Well, getting to me, like I had like all these elaborate plans for cosplay that happened for D23, but I remember like oh yeah, it's D23. I mainly focus on like booth hopping, shopping, photo ops. Yes, you can do elaborate cosplay for D23. I had a Savannah Alexander Aqua cosplay planned for this con, but I don't think I would have had like a lot of fun wearing it at D23. Like I had a lot of fun wearing Mirabelle. No wait, I did not wear Mirabelle. I was gonna wear Mirabelle, but like didn't fall on my schedule.
Yeah, things just didn't work out for that.
Yeah, I mean I wore like Mulan from Wreck-It Ralph 2. I wore Arthur, which actually did make me really happy to wear Arthur at D23. Like, I was happy to see a lot of Merlins and Madman and Mims. I was very happy that there were a few people that recognized me dressed up as Arthur from Sword in the Stone.
I'd also point out that, like, my Dapper Day Darkwing Duck had been modified and upgraded for this event. And I looked at the layers and I said, nah, I'm good.
It was really hot and humid during D23 weekend.
Too.
And like we were like, okay, let's just kind of keep our cosplay plan simple. And you know, I think for next D23, like yeah, I still want to cosplay, but you know, if I keep it simple, like all the more better. Like if friends want to like recruit me, like hey, Scarlet, do you want to be a part of our Disney villain? I can't think of a category. Diesel punk group. Sure, I'll be part of like a Disney villain diesel punk group.
I do lament the fact that I almost wore Dick Tracy for day 3, and there was that Dick Tracy thing at the Disney 100.
I just realized, like, yeah, I could have brought Madonna to the con. Okay, next time D23 2024, I'm gonna bring Madonna.
All right.
And see how many people remember Madonna playing Breathless of Honey. Also, not a lot of people remember this, but there actually was a Dick Tracy stage show at Videopolis in the early 90s called Diamond Double Cross, which sounds like a JoJo thing.
It was a musical adventure of, Dick Tracy trying to stop Big Boy's gang from stealing a bunch of diamonds.
But yeah, I really enjoy like going to D23. I like seeing all the booths. I like wandering around the exhibit hall. I like to see what's new. I like, for D23, for me, it's about nostalgia. It's about just looking at the parks, past and present, and crossing figures future.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, D23 is pretty much also what convinced us to like finally just take the bite and just bite the bullet and do Disney World. And now with this D23, we want to bite the bullet and finally just book a Disney cruise to see what it's like. But I've just really felt that. I just really felt that there was just a few things that could have been done better. Virtual queues. I don't know how else you can improve with virtual queues because I'm not the biggest fan of virtual queues, but honestly, if there's room, just lets people in, you know? And I like the merchandise that I got. I always budget and just keep in mind to spend big, especially with the Duffy and Friends merch. And I really hope that this is a telltale sign with all the popularity of all the Duffy merch that we get more of that here in the stateside parks. Overall, I enjoyed D23. No regrets about it. I'm glad we got a gold member discount. I do want to check out more of the gold member events with D23 that we have access to now that our membership has been renewed. Like I said, there's been like a lot of amazing D23 things, but we just kind of missed them out because of time. Like I said, I would have loved to have gone to that Lilo and Stitch luau party. A couple of my friends went. I probably would have given the exclusive merch to Ethan.
Yep.
He's probably listening to this wearing his Stitch Kigurumi, his Stitch onesie.
Yeah, which he still needs to bring to a con.
Mm-hmm. And if you're a Disney fan, I highly recommend just saving up for this one because organization-wise, like just like going from booth to booth, like you never feel like you're sardined in. You never feel like it's too crowded. There's a lot of photo op zones, so definitely bring a charger with you for your phone if you're taking phone photos. I'm old school. I always bring my point and click Canon with me because that Canon Chef's Kiss is just one of my favorite things to bring to cons.
Its battery lasts forever because it's not doing other stuff.
I mean,
unlike a phone that is doing a bunch of other stuff.
I mean, I do want to visit the Palm Springs Air Museum to see the plane again because it just has so much history to it, and
plus you can see all the other stuff there.
And this con is, to me, I think is still worth going to. There's a lot of specific fan conventions that I feel like I can live without. Like I've made peace not wanting to do a Star Wars celebration. Have no regrets selling my tickets for a Star Wars celebration this year, and probably went to a good person. Yeah, I have no regrets going to Anime Boston over Star Wars Celebration.
Yeah.
And this is like one of the few like fan-specific events that I enjoy going to. And it's just always cool to like just find that random person you just kind of geek out over like Disney minutia that only both of you would know. And to me, it's always funny anytime we have the Disney husband conversation, and there's always someone in that circle who'll be like, well, I'm not a furry, but Robin Hood. And I'm like, I don't need to preface it, girl, because let me tell you about my weird array of Disney husbandos that I have no shame about. And one of them is an alligator who plays jazz. Okay, I think with that said, I think we can wrap up the show.
Yep.
All right, so if you want to support us, you can support our Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com, Scarlet Wrapsy. Definitely check out our socials. Definitely follow us on Facebook. Definitely follow our Instagrams, and definitely support the products that we are shilling with you. Magic Candle Company, Multitasky, Umac Sweater. And again, this has been Scarlet Asnable.
And Jared the Greek.
And remember, the con is what you make of it, so make it a good one. We'll see you at the con. Which is going to be PMX.